Hello, everybody. This is a prediction for the episode that we will only be talking about, and I don't want anyone in the comments to do that thing they've been doing all goddamn week, because I can't swear in the first 30 seconds, where they bring up another matchup with Vader related to me that always pisses me off whenever it's brought up. So we're going to be doing a prediction for Darth Vader versus some guy from Naruto. I don't know, like Discount Madara at home. I don't know. And today I'm joined by the whole squad. We'll say.
Hi.
Hello, I haven't been here in like a year and a half, maybe.
I'm back again after 2 weeks
Same here.
or 3.
Yep, and I am back. I think since a year it's been since I've last been here. So
I remember when everyone was last here. I remember Arena was Killua versus whoever that other one was.
I think
Mikasa from Attack on Titan.
Yeah,
I think my last
Mikasa
big one
Makoto.
maybe was Madara versus Aizen. I could have done something maybe later, but like Madara versus Aizen was like when I killed you and then you were in like the spirit realm in like the episode with Poe.
The episode
Yeah.
with Poe.
Oh my God, Cyber.
I wonder if my son's gonna draw this whole prediction too.
I hope he does. That'd be really fun. Did you see his Ridley versus Vilgax drawing, by the way?
Yeah.
That was really cool.
You think I don't follow what he does? I'm very proud of my boy and his incredible skills, even though I've clearly surpassed him with my new passion for art.
Anyways, let's
I
Do we
assume
want to
you've
get
all- I
into
assume
these
you've all
two
seen my
overgrown, masked man children? Okay, they're not man children. Do not kill me in the comments for saying that.
I mean,
Maybe they are, maybe they
I'm
are.
pretty sure Hyper's the biggest Vader fan here, but also
he is. Yeah, Vader is a man-child. He absolutely is.
Yeah, he is.
I know Clock said like both of their reasons make sense, but he feels like Obito's reason is slightly more understandable.
yeah, it is.
I think they're both pretty well written in some degrees.
I mean, in
yeah,
Vader's
very-
case,
that's
do
the point.
consider that to maximize the power of the dark side, being a man-child who pisses and cries over everything is probably in your favor if you're in the dark side. Just being honest.
Maybe,
those
maybe
emotions will
Dooku
benefit
should
you.
have learned from that. Maybe Dooku should have learned from that.
If you're
Anyways,
with the dark side, you will cry over spilt milk, and it will make you stronger.
So, how do we want to? You mind if I just jump in with Vader stats, or do you want to jump in with Obito?
I feel like Obito would be a lot easier to start with.
Obito would argue.
All right.
Yeah.
So,
Let's do
I mean,
it.
I guess Obito is divided into two sections. I mean, it's kind of pointless to
I like
just
how
talk about
I like how nobody introduced themselves this time, even though there's 4 other
I
people.
feel
All
like we
All
all,
right,
I feel like
we've
we've
already-
been here enough. We all know who each other are.
This is
If we
Cyber.
don't know-
Not to each other.
We have
you-
Hyper, Momo, and Rena, and Nemesis himself, who might be dying a second time today.
Yes.
I mean,
I am
good.
quite tired.
I
Yeah.
mean, I've only been here once, so I'm not too frequent here, unlike you guys. Like I've been here for Black Adam versus Apocalypse, and that was pretty much it.
Oh, well, that
I,
was
I am
it.
I am here because I will say this has probably been like my most wanted for a little over 3 years, like literally as far back as like season 6 or 7. I want to say
I'd
so
say
around
the
when
most wanted
when
right now.
Obi-Wan versus Kakashi happened, basically.
Most wanted right now is probably Gojo versus Makima, but I would not be angry if we get it next year instead.
My most wanted is the one that might not happen anymore.
I mean, hey, it'll take a few more months for it to get 1 million.
What?
oh,
Oh, right.
Wait, what
yes,
What
yes.
do you do
I had to
what do you
take a
do?
moment to register what you meant. Look,
What do you do if Cole
my-
Alex got more views?
I feel like I would unironically kill myself.
Oh,
And demonetize.
Okay.
I get it. I just heard the word views and I understood.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Okay, anyways, Obito stats. Woo!
Anyways,
Alright,
base
so I think
Obito. Okay, base Obito. So, anyways, Father Ninja are moon level.
Wait. So I think it's just very good to say really off the bat, like it's pointless to discuss like Toby, like without the running gun, because I mean he's like at his peak when he gets the running gun during the war arc, so it's just like jump into that version scaling instead.
So we shouldn't give him the Renegon, is what you're saying.
Nah,
Yeah, I mean,
What?
the Renegon's overrated, you know?
Yeah.
It's an eyeball.
Yeah.
Anyways, like in the war arc, he's depicted as being somewhat relative to like KCM. Well, if not above KCM, in like relative to like Bijou mode to some extent. He's like able to take attacks from like Bijou mode Naruto. Also able to harm the Eight Tails, like shooting out Kamui from basically like Shuriken from Kamui itself. And also just like his giant like he has like a like the receivers, but like they're massive. They're like tailed beast tail size, several meters. So it's like either his weapons or his actual direct attacks and durability like consistently scale somewhere in the range of like the Eight Tails to Naruto himself while he's in like Bijou mode. And that transitions into Rina. Go ahead.
Okay, fucking Bijus are strong. Like, they vaporized mountains before with just their tail beast bombs. It gets gigatons. And in the anime, it's an anime only feat, but like five tail beasts clashing with Karamo's tail beast bomb dispersed a bunch of air. And I know some probably think that like it was Karama who mostly did all of that, but Yuki explicitly says that like Kurama matched it out with equal chakra. So like splitting it like each tail beast would basically be doing like 10% of the entire air burst, which would be like 60 petatons, which is good. I think like tail beasts are also like they should scale to like the Akatsuki members. If not even like Akatsuki members should probably like upscale because they're basically intended to fight and defeat the tail beasts. Obito should like scale to Datara. He has some good feats like flipping Turtle Island, which is like a giant kilometer-sized fucking turtle. It also gets gigatons, and
I mean, it's consistent with like random ninja from the Lightning Village in like the last movie.
Can I bring up the moon level calc for that, please? Pretty
what,
please.
Moon? Wasn't there like the gigaton? Wait, are you talking about like the inflated size of the planet?
No, it's not. Oh, you don't know. Don't you where I posted on group chat?
Is it the one by the father?
Yes, the chakra cannon.
I didn't know that chakra cannon gets as high as moon level. I mean, go ahead.
Basically, okay, so I'm kind of joking, but like basically like so the chakra cannon, we know the feat, but like basically 96 ninja each power up a big ass cannon to destroy meteors surrounding the earth. 1 second is like 1%, so each shinobi is like kind of like almost 10,000th of like the entire chakra cannon yield, and they destroy the meteors, and at first it looks like they're just polarized, but like if you go frame by frame in one of the scenes, they're just dispersed, which means you can get ridiculous kinetic energy out of it, and the kinetic energy for each shinobi is almost moon level. So if you really want to use it, I don't know.
There's also like a guide that like I'm trying to remember which one it was because it was shown it back during like the old G1 period for Vader versus Obito, which was last year. One of the guides mentions that like Obito with the Renin gun is like comparable to like Edo Madara, which is I mean that's debatable in itself if their feats like equal to that. If you do think they're comparable, you can go straight into like scaling him to the meteors that Madara summons too. If you want to do it that way.
There's several ways you could calc them. I feel like, but they should all be pretty high. They make a big earthquake that's felt like kilometers away.
I mean, in the old blog, we have them listed as like 40, like just like the perfect Susanoo cutting the mountains is like 44.9 teratons, and then the meteors and like the first one is like 500 gigatons, and then like 1 teraton for the second one. Pretty impressive. Yeah. As for speed, well, that's a little interesting topic. So like, there's, if people recall from like Madara versus Aizen, like there's been a like it's generally accepted, at least in the death battle community, that like light speed scaling is available to like the god tiers of the verse. One thing that's more controversial is like whether like the non-god tiers but still pretty high, like say like the fourth Raikage, are actually light speed. There's like a data book statement that the lariat move he uses while using his like lightning armor technique like allows him to move at the speed of light. It is, in my opinion, like kind of a slippery slope because it like the Japanese uses like gotoki and like the prefix goto off of that, which can mean that like it's like a simile in a way. It's like there's like a lot of examples of like translations from Japanese to English of like statements. So it's as fast as light, but it's not being like literal. This could be classified as one. There is like an interesting little thing because like there's also in the fourth data book like Mifune, the samurai, basically stated to slash at the speed of light, and it does not use goto. Like the way the sentence is structured is non-hyperbolic, and it's.
Wasn't he amped by the Kurama?
I was gonna get into that. So
Just
when
let
he's
him cook.
depicted use. Yeah, but you could still probably scale that to Bijou mode Naruto because it's like if you go with the argument that Mifune wasn't light speed or wasn't capable of doing light speed slashes and only able to do it because of the amp, Naruto is pouring that out to everyone, and that would just show that it also like amps speed. All that to himself, that would push his like speed already to a higher ridiculous degree, and then like the small portion he gave to Mifune. So that would already support like light speed scaling for
I
like
think
Bijou Naruto and like Obito like scales them in speed.
it's not even that. There is one thing I don't see many talk about it, probably because it's kind of weird. But like, there is a data book statement that says Kirin is light speed.
There's 3 statements that Kirin is light speed, not just one.
Ooh.
2
Yeah,
data
there you
book
go.
statements. One is like a promotional guide, but it's like still. That was a little weird because it's like I recall one of them at least doesn't use Goto. It is interesting because it's like it's supposed to supposedly be a bolt of lightning, and Zetsu does give a statement for it that does, if I recall, it's like a time frame statement.
It's like 1/1000 of a second.
Yeah, it doesn't inherently line up with the light speed statement. But if you do think that the data book, or at least in this like, rather than just the data book, like consistent different guides that Kishimoto himself has penned, consistently say that, if you think that has like higher level of authority, that would mean Kirin would be that speed. I think the lariat is more solid than like light speed Kirin. But
I'm just bringing it up as like support, if anything. I feel like it's interesting to discuss. And Itachi, even when like he's very sick at this rate, but like his Susanoo, he can react in time to intercept or protect himself from King with his Susanoo. Which, if you accept as light speed, it's like 16% the speed of light, and he's basically almost dead at that rate.
There's also like a water bullet in the second data book, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
That one might be hyperbolic. But
Maybe. Best to cover all bases. Best to cover all grounds.
Yeah, to wrap this up.
I was just going to say it. I think you could definitely argue some of the statements are like a bit too hyperbolic. Like with the water bullets, it's probably not as solid as like using the Raikage, and like the same with Kirin. But they're fine if you want to just use them to say like there's good like consistent support that like the verse has like light speed moves.
Well, if you want support
think
for light speed, we also have like there's Orochimaru reacting to like a photon beam and
Okay. Well, technically that's in Boruto, and Obito's not.
I know. I was gonna say it is in the Boruto era. There is also like, well, we already mentioned the lariat, the Gaara's sand. So like in the old blog.
We have to bring this up.
Yep, we have to bring it up.
Sand.
You also had a very based / cursed name for the Imgur. Sand
I hate
everywhere.
sand. It's coarse, rough,
But,
irritating, and gets everywhere.
But it's
Like in
still
the
I
Five
sand.
really
Kage
like
Summit,
that band
like-
song.
In the 5 Kage Summit, like the 4th Raikage is like bloodlusted as hell against Sasuke, and basically like powers up to the 2nd level of his lightning armor. The only time he goes any faster than this is when he like tests KCM Naruto during the actual like war arc itself. But anyways, he doesn't use the lariat on Sasuke, but he uses a drop kick, and honestly it should be faster than the lariat. The data book doesn't depict like the 4th Raikage like using any certain level of like his lightning armor when he's using the lariat. It's just like the regular speed of the technique. If he's bloodlusted, using a higher level of amplification that amps his speed, and just going all in on trying to kill Sasuke, there should be no reason he's slower than when using the lariat in like the first stage of the lightning armor, for example. So it's like the argument would be Gaara at near point blank range to Sasuke's own body stops the drop kick with his sand, and the sand would have to travel. I think it was like 23 times the speed of light. It was calced if you accept the lariat being light speed.
You can easily argue it's like kind of weird that Gar's sand is that much faster than like the Raikage, who's basically a speedster in the verse.
Yeah,
but...
I've had my issues with it, but it gets into like the subjective topic of what's the distinction between like reaction and travel speed and like combat. It's like Gar's sand is used for his traversal in the War Arc, and it's clearly not moving at light speed. It's not just one of those instances of, well, it can be calced to be that fast, but it's like it visually slow. It's like actual time like passes between like Naruto being like left for dead, right? And Gaara helping move him to Minato. Like a good amount of time, at least a few minutes occur, and he's not like traversing like several kilometers at like 28 times the speed of light. But again, it does get into the whole subjectivity of, well, that applies to most characters.
That applies to a lot of characters. Yeah, I feel like that might not be.
It would.
I guess you could argue it's a little different than applying it to a character, because it's like the sand being moved almost like telekinetically or by itself. Like it would be kind of like, think of it as like a sand hoverboard in a way. It's like, would we still apply the same kind of like subjective division we do? I could see arguments for either side, to be honest.
I mean, at the same time, Gaara's sand is portrayed as being quite fast, generally.
I mean, yeah, but Rasa also scales to it, which is his dad. Like, if you accept Rasa scales to it, it allows a lot of other, well, at least a few other characters to potentially get. Like,
wait a minute,
20,
this just feels
even
exactly.
Even like
exactly
this
feels exactly like the Polar feat.
Sorcery scale.
Edo Madara dodges.
Look,
Gar.
I'm just gonna be honest. This has the exact same energy as the Polnareff thing. Is that just me who sees that?
But yeah, if you do accept the sand feat, it would probably be the fastest thing you could scale. Well, not Itachi, but Obito too.
Well, no,
Speaking of
he's
Itachi,
massively faster than.
Oh yeah, the
Could I make one comment on the Raikage thing, by the way?
Yeah,
or
sure.
The Gar thing? There's actually an additional counter argument. I'm not sure if it was brought up. I've seen some people argue that since Raikage is drop kicking, that's a different action than running. So the same speed,
like falling.
Like falling speed. I'm not sure what your guys' stance is on it necessarily, but I just want to say
I would just argue that he's like accelerating down at full blast, because it's like he jumps in the air and then like it rapidly descends down with like a guillotine.
Yeah.
The point of it was to basically just go straight through Sasuke's body, because Sasuke's like lying down on the floor because he'd just been hit by a side chop that like broke some of the Susanoo bones, as was like leaving him bleeding. So it's like he's on the floor making like spikes of flame, hoping that like when the Raikage descends down with the guillotine kick, the spikes of flame will like just skewer the Raikage. And that's probably what would have happened. They probably would have both died if Gaara hadn't stopped the attack.
Shame.
Sasuke would have just been split in half or whatever, and like the Raikage would have been burned alive.
Because it's like he's still like basically rushing at Sasuke. He's just doing it from a different direction.
Free fall was the word we were looking. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I just thought of fucking light speed gravity, and now I want there to be a verse where that's just an argument.
Hunter moments.
I guess the last big speed thing to go over is like the Itachi argument. So it's like Itachi in his novel like ages his girlfriend mentally, and then it like her body basically just like gives out because of that. And it's like they give a really ridiculous time frame. I know that like when we went over the raws for the blog, it wasn't as absurd as it was originally calced. There was controversy on like if it was just perceptions. So what was done is like a conversion of perceptions to reactions. Like, yeah, the time that passes in this genjutsu is hundreds, tens of thousands of that in the real world. This brings the feat to about 3 or 7 C. Basically, like the official translation has a different. Like the official translation is that it's the time that passed within the genjutsu was 1/100th of 1/1000th of 1/1,000,000th of the real world, whereas in like a translation of the raws would be that we got together was basically the time that passes in this genjutsu is 100 1/100,000th of the real world. Yeah, the Genjutsu is hundreds, ten thousands of the time. Yeah, so basically what it's getting at is that, like, if we use that time frame that we got from our original go through of the raws, it'd be a bit lower. And once you, like, convert perception to reactions, in this case dividing... Rena, correct me if I'm wrong, it's just dividing by, like, human perception speed?
That was the original calc. I think this one was basically like if that time in the Genjutsu is taking like that long, it's like how long does she live out in the? It's been so fucking long, but like I need to double check what the context for the current calc was. But I think the results was like I think the results were 7 times faster.
Yeah, 7 times. Yeah, so the time that passes in this Genjutsu, blah blah blah, 1 meter melee range in that time frame is 1, basically e to the like 9 millisecond meters per second, excuse me, and which would be like 3.3 times the speed of light. Alternatively, you can quantify it by calculating the difference in time, since Izumi lives her whole life in the illusion, and it's stated to be 70 years, or 2e 9 seconds. And then assuming one like meaning 1 second in the illusion would be some ridiculous time frame, and that gets to about like 7 times the speed of light. So yeah, 3 to 7 times the speed of light.
Yeah.
Like I said, the highest would be like 23 times the speed of light if you do accept like the light speed lariat and then Gara-san. Like Obito would easily scale to Madara like avoids it.
He doesn't like massively outspeed it, but like he does dodge it, and he does.
Yeah,
at that time, he's not even really trying.
I know one of the arguments against is that he does say that like the 4th Raikage is fast during the fight when he dodges. So there is that.
Well, speaking of which, there is a calc that I think Arc did for Madara blocking the Raikage that was like 8 times FTL, somewhere around that range. So
I know there's also like,
that.
If you do think the lariat doesn't just apply to like current Raikage, there's like the whole like Minato evades it. I
feel like he was not that fast during that time.
Well, for the sake of argument, wasn't what like value would that get? Wasn't like 70 times the speed of light?
I think I need to check Arc's calc, but I remember he did. I remember he like calced the intangent movement of the kunai with the fist. It was
I know there was like the infamous Naruto dodges the lariat and like people.
The 72C calc, even though it the
Naruto one is kind of dead because it's like if you actually like look at the way the scene is framed, it's nowhere near as high as most people calculate.
The issue for those ones is yeah, the 72C calc was like it assumes Naruto traveled 10 meters in the time it took the Raikage to just like punch to like cross the distance between his fist and his face, even though that's not really at all what is implied. He would just need to move like he would just need to get out of the way, like move his body length. I know Arc did a calc of ducking his head as like a minimum and was also FTL. So like there's multiple characters dodge the Raikage. Even Obito has a feat of reacting to the Raikage.
Yeah,
he does.
It's like 14% before he got the Renin gun.
Yeah, it's like 14% the speed of light.
But yeah, that pretty much covers like AP and speed for like quote unquote base Obito. Jubito is.
Oh wait! I forgot. Fucking pain feats. He could do Chibaku Tensei, can't he?
Yes.
I mean, Obito himself should also be able to pull off Chibaku Tensei. It's just like if I recall, it was something along the lines of, especially when he had like the paths using the Jinchuriki, was like stamina draining to try and like spam the techniques plus controlling them, so he like avoided doing that.
He also didn't he didn't want to use them because he knew that Kakashi and Naruto already like faced pain, so they're familiar with the moveset. So there's really like no reason to rely on.
He also has an over reliance on Kamui, but to be fair, he like weaponized that like really well. The only reason they managed to like on him is that they have another Kamui user.
and even when they figured him out, he mixes his taijutsu and fireball spells really well with Kamui spamming.
Yeah. Yeah, that covers a lot of what he can do.
Now,
Jubito is
Jubito, right? Let's go to
yeah, Jubito's
Jubito.
obviously going to be in the episode. If anyone thinks it's not, then I'm sorry, but you're living under probably Mercury. I don't
Now
know
you
how
can
you're alive
argue.
with
You
Mercury,
can
but,
argue.
Hold on.
You can argue if he
isn't
should.
there? Can you not argue that there is always going to be a point where someone's going to be living quote unquote under Mercury because the position Earth will be, Mercury will be from their perspective up.
I hope you shut the fuck up one day.
how dare you use
One
astronomy
day.
to destroy me?
Look,
But,
if I wanted to be rude, I would bring up that we're talking about cum Obito now. That's what. Let's be honest. That is what he is. Look at him.
I mean, I guess he does look like that one Tetsuo form.
I just think the idea of Obito not getting his form is really funny because, like, literally Sonic characters are gonna get every single form when they get on Death Battle.
That's true.
Literally all of them.
Like, you can argue if Obito should get the form, but like
He should.
he's gonna get
Full
it.
stop.
Anyway,
Like,
Like,
by
it's
Death
so
Battle
because I know
standards.
so many people. Like, this is like, I know so many people were complaining that Silver shouldn't get a super form, and I was sitting there like listening to all the reasons. Like, I don't really disagree with you here, but also, why are we gonna act like he's not gonna get it?
Yeah. Though I feel like there are going to be people who argue that Obito shouldn't get this because Kakashi, he didn't get, that one thing people like to bring up a lot.
Oh, I guess I could run that through really quick.
That might actually be
Actually,
good
wait,
too.
Wait. That's actually good. Okay,
May
shouldn't Obito technically be capable of using the perfect Susanoo? Technically.
No, because he needs both eyes. Well, we could cover that, but I was gonna cover the whole DMS thing because I think that's a good little thing to segue. So, Kakashi didn't get DMS because, one, he only has it for like 2 chapters. 2, it's literally like a completely foreign part of his like toolkit. And 3, the biggest one, is that it's different in like quote unquote outside help of like Jubito in the aspect that it like requires Obito to specifically be dead, to be a soul in the Pure Lands, to come back and then possess, like his soul has to enter Kakashi's basically mindscape, which then somehow magically gives him 2 like both the Sharingan, like the Mangekyo Sharingan, and then the moment that like Obito returns to the afterlife, they disappear. It is explicitly super non-standard, whereas like Jubito is the culmination of Obito's entire character arc, from the moment he's introduced as Tobi up until his like final clash with Naruto and Co. It is what he has been devoting his entire life from the moment Madara saved him to accomplish and basically usher in what he considers basically heaven, like the false world of dreams brought in by the infinite Tsukiyomi. He has access to the Geto Mazo, which can have the tailed beast in its side of itself, and it already has like 7 of them at all times. He also had the gourd, which had the pieces and of like the Nine Tails from I can't remember their names. And he also had that captured piece of the 8 Tails, which he uses to trigger its birth. If anything, it's actually far more standard to give it to him than Madara, because Madara had to collect the
I was gonna bring it up. Like, I don't have any issues giving it to Madara. Let's like.
I think it's more standard to give it to Obito than Madara, because Madara has access to the Geto Mazo, sure, but he still had to collect all the beasts from scratch, whereas Obito, for like a good amount of the war, has access to Geto Mazo that already has like 7 of the other parts, and he has the 2 other parts that he uses to bring back like the incomplete Jubi and fuse with him as like standard equipment, pretty much, that he just like feeds to the Geto Mazo. So it'd be super. So not only is it like intrinsical to his character arc and the culmination of his like being, but it's like extremely easy technically for him to access it in a fight. I mean, I guess there is the whole time span of it being, I guess, quote unquote, like formed, but I mean, he was able to do that in combat.
Okay, but he shouldn't get it because I don't like him.
I mean, okay, I will, because
I'm
it's
joking.
funny.
I'm joking. I do like him.
Imagine
I do
how
like
funny it would have been if
I
Obi-Wan
wasn't.
just began with Obi-Wan crashing into Obito and just fucking killing him, and that was the catalyst to allow Kakashi to get the eyeball.
That
in
would
the
be
butt.
cursed. That would be so funny.
Goated.
Oh,
Anyways, I just want to say I had to convince you so hard to like Obito Hyper. Oh my god.
Yeah,
I didn't realize Hyper didn't like Obito.
He didn't, and I had to specify the entire Rin thing to him because he thought it was just because he's a
that's
simp.
fair.
And there's so
a
much
lot of
context
people
he
out
was
there
missing.
don't necessarily
That's
like
not
Obito.
what I said.
You did say it once. I know you. I remember you did in
That
DM.
sounds like
Anyway,
something you would
all
say.
that
Yeah.
needs to be known
Remember
is
I
that I'm
said
still planning
that.
on canceling Colex.
Base.
Good.
Okay.
Well, that's rude.
Wow.
Anyways,
So mean.
Jubito.
Jubito doesn't. Okay, I guess speed would be very easy for him because it doesn't have like you can't slap on a number beyond like what we already have. What you can
He
do.
just so like every speed feat we mentioned, like whatever you accept, he just blitzes those kinds of speed
number is
tiers.
just big
He
as
That's
a
it.
bat.
blitzes like Bijou mode Naruto or KCM I think was at the moment, and like EMS Sasuke, and like he somewhat blitzes like there's a moment he just flat out blitzes like I think it was like a clone of Hashirama, but he also it's like Tobirama. Like right before Tobirama starts doing like the, if I recall, it's like the paper bombs technique. It like flat out blitzes them. He like outspeeds Hiruzen's reactions. It's like he's blatantly like, and this was like uncontrolled Jubito, like before he like gains like mastery over his form and forces him into himself into a form more resembling the Sage. So it's like Jubito would just like be a character that like blitzes characters that have like the reactions that we went over before. AP is interesting. He actually has a few AP feats worth noting of himself, like his giant explosion done with like the Bijou bomb, like kind of like plant. He also upscales from basically every Bijou feat from the version of the Bijou he summoned, because it's explicitly stated he's stronger than the Ten Tails. It's basically like the same as any Jinchuriki. You take the energy bomb or that is like the Ten Tails and you force it into like a compressed space that is a host, and it just because it's like compressed like that and because of the being forced into a vessel, it's much stronger than it would be without a vessel. And of course he has also the tree spread, his own version. It's not as OP as Madara's, but it is worth mentioning.
And he does raise the entire tree. he did in fact lift the whole insert million-ton tree off the ground.
I hate you so much for including that.
And someone did, in fact, calc the whole tree feat out of the manga. So
That is why he will win. That's how he'll win.
like
we're gonna like find a random clip from some video game where Vader's struggling to lift a tree with the fours, and we're like, there you go, he loses.
Oh no!
He did not, in fact, lift the whole 20-kilogram tree off the ground.
That would be the reason he loses.
And also because
No,
Obito is
true.
faster than sand.
Oh, I
true.
guess to go over the feats, like Tipponchi, which is like the continent-spanning natural disaster storm done by like Ten Tails. At least an old calculation we had for like the blog was like 4 petatons, which makes sense. That thing is like, it's like a nuke. It's like if you took the largest hurricane in history, like multiply it, I don't know, by 1 million, and then like make it a nuclear
Hurricane.
like, storm.
And also
like-
creates a giant fucking tsunami, so that's something.
Yeah.
This just
Then
sounds.
there's
This is
like-
also like this is also kind of weird because I actually was rereading the manga. You know what that giant crater the God Tree is from?
Of course, everyone
Cyber?
knows it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that I was looking into it. I'm pretty sure that was literally just made from the God Tree rising up because it is literally not there even after the Senpaichi.
Maybe it was from like prior Bijou like bombs from the Ten Tails.
I
don't
didn't
know.
see
I
it
don't
there,
remember.
but like either way, it's like
Speaking-
no matter
Oh,
what, it's basically just extra consistency.
Yeah, speaking of the Ten Tails though,
I get to mention the funnies.
it has some petatons calcs for its like Bijou bombs. But recently something was done that I was not aware of, and it managed to upgrade the Ten Tails quite a bit.
Tommy's the goat for giving me this idea.
Go ahead.
So basically, when Ten Tails' second form fires a Bijou bomb, they need to redirect it because like, it will fucking kill them all. So it gets sent flying, and it's midair after the after the bomb is launched, and it's still midair even after the blast detonates, meaning it was in free fall. And so with the dust, because you see dust like moving, so you can treat that as projectile motion. And approximately, like eyeballing, it fell about half its height. The Jubi has various calcs for its size, but generally speaking, it's like close to 1 kilometer for like almost every calc I see of it. So, assuming like 500-meter free fall, the time frame would be about like 10 seconds for the Jubi falling down. And what I do is that obviously that's not attributed to the entire blast, because that's also for like the time it took to travel there. So doing a very conservative 50-50 split, like 5 seconds for the blast to travel there, and 5 seconds for the detonation. So why that's important is because in the manga we see debris being launched up by the blast, which means that you can get kinetic energy out of mountains being destroyed
Yeah, fucking course.
by that blast. And then you can apply surface area because it's still destroying mountains at the very edge of its blast.
Yeah, fucking course you can.
So, yeah. So,
This is one of the rare occasions where if you do that, it doesn't lower.
yeah.
It
Surface
works
area
in
can actually increase feats. That's very crazy, I know. But when you do that, so using the manga time frame of like 5 seconds, you would get 14 zetatons of TNT, which is small planet level, for the total blast of the Biju bomb. And if you use the anime time frame, which is basically half a second, you get about 1 yotaton of TNT, which is almost large planet level. Now, admittedly, this one is more debatable because we don't see debris being launched up, but like it works at the high end.
Okay, but
Now,
still
would you
loses
say
the
about
Ewok
Tommy
cartoon
somehow getting
villain.
this to like 100 yotatons?
It's from like a highball size of like, it's from a highball size. It's a highball distance of like how far the Biju bomb traveled. You could debate it. I don't think it's really wrong.
Does it
but,
also use like large planet size, or does it not use that?
He uses it to get large planet size, but it's not required for large planet size. Okay. He uses the sizes to get a bigger planet size, but the bigger planet size is not required to get those sizes. If that makes any sense.
It does. It does.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Still
So,
loses to Ewoks. Still loses to Ewoks.
No, not yet.
we're
And,
not getting to the Ewoks just yet. You guys
I know.
wanted Obito. We are stuck on Obito.
I know.
And
So
and then the Ghetto Mazo has 1 feat. Where it
So
acted as it acted as the gravity core for the Chibaku Tensei that formed the entire moon, which would mean that
Fuck's sake.
similar gravity cores like Pain's, where like it basically sustains the entire thing, from what I can recall.
it was like 1.1 zetatons of TNT for durability that you.
Well, okay, you see, that was an old thing. Arc had a new calc for Hagoromo and Hamura yeeting the moon,
Oh god.
and it was about 66 to 600 zetatons of TNT, and the Ghetto Mazo would scale to the entire thing.
Phantom, I'm gonna hold you at gunpoint to actually put this stuff in the new blog.
I am going to. I
Momo, team up with me. We're gonna hold Rina at gunpoint.
I'm putting it at the blog.
All
All
right. So that almost closes everything we need to discuss for Obito. Almost. The last thing that needs to be discussed is there's a character named Toneri in Naruto the Last.
Oh no.
who Obito maybe scales to. It is debatable because it's like this is a Naruto 2 years after the war arc, who now has like the other half of like Kurama. But there is like a guide or quote unquote. I think it's like just like a small pamphlet that came with the film. Does mention the form that's used to fight. Basically like Toneri in his like form with the Tensen gun, and explicitly calls it Kurama Chakra mode. Like KCM. It's not like he's going all out in like six paths or anything like that. And a good chunk of Kurama does leave Naruto's body to fight the golem that was on the moon. So it's like, if you think that it's possible that that version of Naruto is not that far off from the version that fought Obito, which was like Biju mode plus Sage mode plus Sasuke with like a Susanoo and EMS, plus like a minor amp from like Jugo. then it might be possible to scale Obito to some of Toneri's stuff. We're gonna go through this really quick. Toneri,
I think actually you can just simplify it further. There is a statement that Jubito rivals the original Sage of Six Paths.
that is true. There, it's stated in
And
one of
then-
the novels that he rivals the Sage of Six Paths. He would not scale to 1-to-1, obviously, because that wouldn't make any sense. One Eye Madara, who's stronger than Jubito, is approaching Hagoromo and would soon eclipse him. But that means Jubito can't be. But Jubito would downscale.
Yeah.
So-
and then Toneri's biggest feats, which was hurling the moon at the Earth in order to destroy it. He explicitly says it was the power of Hamura, or I believe. So
Yes.
Jubito would
Our old-
downscale from that.
Our old calcs, you probably have updated ones, but our old ones in for just
I do not
hurling
have
it-
updated ones.
Oh, okay. Their old ones was 29 zeta tons for hurling it to destroy the the planet.
I think the
Blast-
context was he required half of Naruto's chakra or something along those lines.
Yeah. Had enough power to move the moon and had half the energy needed to destroy the planet. Basically, destroy the planet was basically when he absorbs Naruto's chakra at the end of the film, alongside the energy of the sun. The calc just takes into account just what would be proportional to him only.
And I think he even says even if we assume the maximum amount of solar energy he would absorb, it is incredibly negligible.
He also blasted a hole in the moon that was 9 zeta tons. He split apart the moon, which was and moved a large debris of rock. 479 zeta tons for the split, 408 zeta tons for...
It's exotons.
sorry,
Tramposo,
yeah.
tramposo, tramposo.
Tramposo. No estoy tratando de ser un tramposo. Anyways, so it's that gives at least consistency to the planet level stuff. If you think Toneri is stronger than Obito, that's fine. I know Toneri has a statement that he was the strongest enemy. That would also mean he was stronger than Kaguya, which absolutely cannot be true at that point in time. That's some degree of BS.
So anyway, Kaguya is multi-solar system level, and now you see the reasoning.
Oh God! You reminded me of Road to Ninja, and it's on the reading guide. Damn it!
Oh wait, what?
We might have to discuss that. Yeah, we might have to
Okay,
discuss
all right.
Oh, shit.
Last bit of Obito scaling. Last bit, I promise.
Yeah, dude.
So
Still haven't gone to Vader.
movies.
This is still better than Bleach. This is all still better than
I think
Bleach.
it was
I'm gonna
this-
be honest.
I mean, it is, yeah.
Bleach is
We have
anime.
been at this for almost an hour. I just want to
Bleach's
say
new
that.
anime is freaking fire. I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway.
Okay, correction. The 1,000-Year Blood War anime is freaking fire.
That's what I said. New anime. Sheesh.
Oh, okay.
You know, you could just call it the
Um,
anime. I'm just saying.
All right.
Anime.
finish off,
You watching it? You watching any anime?
To finish off Obito, the Road to Ninja film has Obito. Okay, its canonicity is debatable. I'm not going to deny that. It's if you try to put it in the timeline, it does seem to be right before six Kage, the 5 Kage summit. But ignoring that, Obito does is he takes a crystal ball, and explicitly it's stated that he took chakra from the Genomazes, specifically of the 7 beasts that he had at the time. This is before the war. And he makes an alternate reality that has an alternate Earth. It's completely physical. It's not. It's meant to be a prototype of the Infinite Tsukiyomi, but it doesn't make much sense because it is a literal physical dimension. To the point that there's a tie-in episode with the anime where the alternate world Sakura accidentally ends up through the a crack through space-time, and ends up in the normal planet. And Naruto and the real Sakura get sent to this alternate world that Obito made. So, the alternate world is an alternate what if that Sakura's parents died stopping Kurama's attack, and it's a bunch of other changes Minato and a few other characters Kushina are alive. But to get to the point is that at bare minimum it's a planetary feat because it's done rather quickly. It's a quote unquote a ritual per se using the crystal ball. Jubito would flat out scale though because he has all that chakra plus more. If you think it's fine to use this feat, my big thing is that it's probably not just the planet. It has a day and night cycle, and it's the way that Zetsu words alongside Obito about the nature of the alternate reality makes it sound that it's extends beyond the planet.
Oh boy.
It's yeah, that's why it's a very controversial thing to use.
Okay,
It would
here's-
probably.
I have a question. Okay, you finish first, but I have
Yeah,
a
go ahead.
question. Well,
Yeah.
my question is going to be: you said that was in the media list for Obito, right?
Yes, it is in the
So,
media list.
I have to ask, just is any of the stuff with Abeloth in Vader's media list?
No. Abeloth would
That's-
not be. It's not there, nor is it something that Vader can scale to.
Well, no, I'm not arguing like he would scale. I'm just like asking if it is because it'd be so
Yeah, no,
funny.
Abeloth's not in there.
It
There
would be
is actually one thing missing from Vader's reading log, but just because something is missing doesn't inherently mean it won't be used. Like,
No, yeah.
these are like put together, and it's by like Ultra sometimes. It doesn't inherently include like everything. The Ewok thing-
Obito's explicitly made by Speedy, so like everything there's like something he wants to share about Ultra. When Ultra makes it, he's just saying like, "Oh, this is stuff that that has notes and like."
Yeah. But like the
Seems like-
Road to Ninja is interesting because it's like I used to argue it
course you did.
a while back as like supplementary feat, but more I thought about it, it's like bare minimum's planet, it can definitely get higher. You argue the higher interpretation, you've basically soloed most of Vader's scaling except for like some of the higher end stuff. Whether or not it's consistent is a whole other can of worms. You can't really scale Obito to Kaguya to try and worm some consistency. What you could maybe do is like, I don't know, downscale Hagoromo and Hamura from Kaguya because they
Wait
were
a
able to
minute.
stalemate her.
Why is Storm 4 listed on Obito's suggested media?
It is. That does. So in Storm 4, Obito helps like hold her off for a while in an actual like boss fight.
Base.
But like,
I don't remember that. It's been
it
so
was
long
actu-
since I played it.
yeah, but it doesn't show like it's showing him using Kamui basically,
I mean, it is-
like to
it is
to
peak
survive
Naruto.
in like the actual cutscene. So that might not inherently mean he physically scales. I mean, he does have like Storm 4 has like the extended fight between him, Kakashi, and Madara when Obito's trying to get into the dimension with Sakura and Naruto to save Naruto's life, and part of it has like Obito use Kamui plus himself and Kakashi punching, and they break like One Eye Madara's like TSO barrier. But I'd attribute that a lot to the Kamui interfering, to be honest.
I'm
I mean,
honestly
they don't
just
really-
glad it's there because Storm 4 is peak Naruto, and like I will have no argument.
Storm 4 is big. Storm 4.
I fucking love it.
Storm 4 has a better death scene for okay, maybe like Obito gets a few better lines in the manga, somewhat. But it's like the overall delivery I feel of his death scene, especially his closure with Kakashi, is much better. I think like it's kind of silly to give the DMS either way, but I've always standed on the DMS giving in basically like in the game a bit better than the, because like in the game he's passed on. It's not like he just suddenly comes back with Rin or like shows him like he takes advantage of basically his properties of still having like a little bit of the Jubi's chakra or whatever to like grant it to. It's still silly, but I'm getting to the point is that like he's allowed to pass on. He only appears in like like when Naruto fights Sasuke, in Storm 4 they like mirror opening 8 of Shippuden where like Naruto falls into the ocean and then his like friends push him up to confront Sasuke. Part of it is like Obito is there, but he's not like actually there. Like I like that Storm 4 lets him pass on and doesn't like arbitrarily just suddenly yank him back in and ruin the death scene. I felt that like was I mean, it's bad as it is with the manga, especially with like he was the coolest guy, which I feel like is over memed with Naruto's like response. But I do feel like it was
I
made
still
to
think
work.
my favorite meme about Obito's death is like it's like you know when Obito says you better become the Hokage, Naruto just says yeah.
Right.
My favorite meme is just an edit of Naruto just saying nah. Nah.
I didn't know that existed.
Okay.
But
let me find it. It's so good. Let me find
no,
it.
for like Obito, I prefer Storm 4's version of his death. But yeah, Storm 4 might just be added for what we did with the original blog, which is to say like expand his moveset. Storm 4 gives Jubito a bunch of new applications for like the TSO. Like reshape them into like energy limbs and a bunch of other stuff like scythes. Really cool stuff in his boss fight. His boss fight's great.
My favorite boss
I mean,
fight would
everything
still
in the
be,
game
like-
is great. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I
Um,
found the image. Nemesis, I want you to put it in the video, but like check the chat.
I mean, you need to remind me. later.
Okay, but check the chat. Check the chat.
Nah. Oh gosh. I will say though, I do like how his face is drawn there.
It is. I think that entire as much as I do think the manga could have handled like Obito's death better, I still really do love that final panel of him saying
Kaguya
he better become Hokage.
The typical cyber rant about Kaguya. Kaguya should never have existed.
You know what this panel reminded me of? It reminded me of that one moment in like TFS where Frieza said, "Maybe I could change."
Nah. The new Hiffle was great, by the way. Go watch that.
Yeah, it was.
I guess I should get into Vader, because considering it's like 8:30.
Okay, yeah. TLDR. Base Obito's multi-continent. If you really want to be a funny little silly little fella, moon level
Like you.
upscaling from fodder, and Jubito is small planet to plant level, and Base Obito is also like FTL to FTL plus, and Jubito is like blitzing that. There you go.
Yeah.
So anyway,
And,
Anyways, Vader.
Vader, when he was Anakin, he like killed these guys, right? And they were like the embodiment of the Force. Now, if you take that, as I'm not gonna go any further. I'm not gonna.
Okay.
Now
No,
the
no,
force.
no.
Now the force
No,
should be above
no.
hyperspace, a 5-dimensional realm.
No,
Exactly.
no, don't worry, guys. I have Vader's best feat here. It's pretty simple. This is why he beats Obito.
He's just gonna post the testicular.
You
torsion.
silence. It is time to go over the original bad guy.
No, remember he
Satan?
crushed a soda. He crushed a soda from a little kid outside the theater screen.
So I think the
That's-
most important feats for this would be Palpatine saying that he would like hurl whatever the galaxy, whatever, and
I hate you so much.
the time that the time that Count Dooku used the energies of the whole universe as well. That's a very notable feat.
Your
I
son
think.
owes me your son owes me a week, I think, or I think it was like 3 days of my time back for that.
Yeah.
I am.
You know, there were
I- we got
actually
you
people
good.
who actually
main
thought it was
reason-
real feat that I
I
saw.
thought
like,
it
in the
was
chat.
real for like 3 days, okay?
No, I mean recently when people were bringing up. So wait,
Yeah.
where's
I
this
know,
like
I
galaxy
know.
feat with Palpatine? I was
JS
like,
told me about
aw.
it. I didn't have
Wait,
enough time.
oh my god, show me that. That's really funny. We've come full circle. Now
thought
others
you were-
are being gaslighted.
Wasn't that really like
Anyways.
right? Wasn't that right when I called you into the chat? Like there were people who.
JS mentioned some days ago that like on
Yeah.
the wiki, on the Death Battle wiki, they were like
Oh my
posting that and like actually convincing people it was real.
That's funny. That's really funny.
amazing.
All right, so can Vader. All right, so Vader is an interesting character to go over because the funny thing is, if you go over his direct feats, no scaling, like if we divorce scaling entirely, there's some impressive stuff in Legends, but
That
he actually
implies
has
we
more
married
impressive
scaling.
stuff. Is more impressive
I really
with
thought-
direct feats for the most part in like canon, which is really odd.
I know there is a
I
feat.
thought he had that
I
sun
know-
feat in Legends.
There
I
is
mean, there's-
one feat, like there is one that comes to mind. Like you would need to apply surface area, so it's like technically like a large city level, but he does survive a plant
So the
exploding.
context for that
Your
is
mother
there's
is
like this
surface area.
small planetoid that has like a monstrosity living in it. It gets awoken and it literally shatters the entire planetoid on like apart. And while Han and like everyone else escape, Vader's like on there and like he's just basically on the planetoid as it rips apart to shreds and all the pieces go flying to space.
Now again, you would need to apply surface area because he's not
Yeah.
at he's not the center.
I just
But even
pic-
then, it's like
I
over
just
100 meg.
picture Vader like having the option to go, but he's like, I ain't no little bitch, and just takes it.
Yeah, no, he also like shakes Mustafar in canon.
Mustafa.
To an extent. Yeah, he's like so like the context is he in canon he ends up making like his base of operations on Mustafar. I mean they even showed it in the Obi-Wan show. The Obi-Wan show was hit or miss for me after like some rewatches. I like the fight. I don't like some of Vader's writing or even Obi-Wan's writing in the Obi-Wan show, but the actual fight itself is really cool.
My favorite thing Star Wars so far is Mandalorian and season 3. Yeah, I don't want to talk about season 3.
Season 3, it was such a freaking letdown.
My favorite thing Star Wars is this little show called The Clone Wars that is peak.
The Clone
Yeah.
Wars is
I
great. No,
I need to
the Clone
fucking
Wars is
watch
great.
Clone Wars.
It
dude.
is. It's the
You
greatest
fucking
thing
do, you
ever.
actual child.
But
I have not. Listen, you would be. There are so many cartoons I have not watched when I was young. Like, I have not watched Samurai Jack. I have not watched Danny Phantom. I have not watched Ben 10. I have not watched Powerpuff Girls.
Wait, no, don't say that last one. Don't get yourself canceled.
Admittedly, I haven't watched any of those either, but that's just because I'm too lazy.
Wait, what?
Even
How?
though I've got Samurai Jack like on Blu-ray, all of it, and I just have not gotten around to watching it because I got no time. You'd be amazed. You'd be amazed what I've got on physical that I've just not watched. I've got Cowboy Bebop. I've got both Full Metal Alchemist, and I've just not had the time to watch any.
What?
Of that.
Damn. Okay.
I do probably need to go.
How have you not watched Danny Phantom or Ben 10?
I thought you need to go in like a half
Your
hour.
favorite persons.
I watched every single program on Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon. I'm disappointed in
Cartoon Network didn't exist down here, so
you. Oh.
I feel like I gotta go off here. Like it did not exist. We didn't have Cartoon Network in Down Under, you know.
That's pretty unfortunate.
That is unfortunate. Although I don't have any like. I mean, Cartoon Network nowadays is not what it used to be, but that's.
I mean, that's how reality works. Nothing today is how it used to be. That's time passes, idiot.
Not in that context, Smish. Okay.
I think even in that context, time still passes.
I guess I'm just immeasurable. All right.
We're all immeasurable when you think
To be
about
fair,
it.
I can't measure any of you guys. I'm like kilometers away. How would I measure any of you?
Not even kilometers. You are tens of. You are
moon-sized
thousands of
yardstick,
kilometers
what?
away.
You don't have one? Anyway.
I hate to tell you this, thousands of kilometers is still kilometers. You know, it's.
Yeah, but you're lowballing the distance.
Look, if
like,
you had,
that's not cool,
if you
Nemesis.
had 1,000 baked beans, you would still have
You know
baked
what's
beans.
funny?
It wouldn't stop.
But
being
you're
baked
lowballing.
beans.
You're kind of lowballing Nemesis.
You
I
know
don't think
what's
that's
so funny
cool.
to me?
You're
I'm
just
looking at the
trying to
new
understand the metric
blog
system.
for Vader's AP section, and there's like the petaton thing for like shaking Mustafar, and his freaking like GIF for the power is just like destroying the treehouse or like the house in like the very first mission of Force Unleashed. I mean, it's a cool feat and all, but it's not like that impressive. It's like you're arguing like all these petatons. It's like just freaking has to charge up a force attack to destroy like a house made of wood. But
Let's also
Force
let's not forget Vader also scales to Mitsurugi from Soul Calibur, and Mitsurugi was able to fight Algol for an extended period of time. Now, Algol should be comparable to some extent, at least, to Soul Edge, which maintains an entire universe.
No proof to universe.
We'll
it's at least
save that
Darth
for an actual Soul Calibur episode. I'm
Please.
still hoping for Spinal versus Cervantes.
Yeah, I
That
mean,
would be much
I do
better.
like it. At the same time, I will say I still do have the issue that you have the first main antagonist of the entire Soul Calibur series with a ton of story relevance and who's important throughout each game to at least some extent against a skeleton who is by definition there. And that's the
I've said it before.
It's
I've
still a
said it
classic
before.
matchup idea. It's better than Liu Kang versus Jago.
I know there's a Lee character that people like for Cervantes. I don't know much details on it, but
Spinal versus Cervantes is better than Jago versus Liu Kang. I will not.
Whoever
take
Cervantes
that
fights,
back.
I'm in there for Cervantes. Cervantes is awesome. I fucking love his
Luke
story in Soul
Kang versus
Calibur 6.
Jago would be such a fucked up debate. Like honestly,
I'm pretty sure everyone fucking literally everyone agrees that like Liu Kang probably should win, but he's just not going to. I feel like that's what everyone thinks at this rate.
Anyways, we kind of derailed a bit.
Anyways, real quick, most wanted Soul Calibur, so Nightmare vs. Majora. Okay, let's continue.
All right, so Vader's like. I just mentioned the whole planet surviving thing, which gets like reduced because of surface area, and then there's the shaking of Mustafar and canon. If you want a really big feat that he has directly in Legends, there's the whole kind of controversial, well, not controversial, it's just debatable, like feat of him as Anakin, but so well before he, Episode 3, throws like a pod that had Dirge in it. If you don't remember who that is, it's like from the 2003 miniseries, that little like. The guy that was like a liquidish like bounty hunter that fought Obi-Wan.
Little?
No, he's not little. He's pretty huge. But
he's
no,
the
like
goat.
basically like Anakin throws the pod, sends it hurtling into like a star, and there's like a giant explosion. It's like I think over the years it's been like argued, well, couldn't that just been like a malfunction of the pod or just from its impact? But it's like you could also calculate it as like an illumination feat, and that would get like country level. If you did it as like an explosion, though, it's like exotons. It's a really good feat. If you accept it for like his TK.
Why would the pod
he
have
does
that
have
much,
a
why would
Anakin
the
does
pod
have a
have
direct
that
feed.
much energy in it though to be a malfunction of the pod? Why would the pod have that much energy in it to be able to create?
It really doesn't. It's just like the explosion is to such a degree you can like see it almost as coming out as like a, what do they call those? Like almost not a solar flare, but almost like a prominence from the sun. It's probably even bigger.
It just amazes me that people will be like, it makes more sense that this random pod had that much energy in it as opposed to the Force being able to do that.
If we're going to scaling though, this is where like Vader gets to shine.
This is where
So,
the
like,
fun begins.
Star Killer.
Ewok,
I'm going to start with Star Killer. No. Star Killer is the first. We'll move up that way.
Ewok.
Fuck, fine. Alright, so...
I made you say fuck. I
just realized how
so
much Ewok repeatedly starts sounding like your walk.
Oh my god!
That's why it worked.
So,
So
the
little
Ewok
messaging.
cartoon from Legends, I originally thought was in-universe fiction, as in, like, a hollow, like a video. Turns out it's
Wrong.
not! Legends has its own continuity, like, canon, to itself, I mean, obviously. Like, comic book series with the freaking Ewoks, and it brings up the events of the show. And in the show, there's this artifact, this dark side artifact that's used to move a moon, and you can get kinetic energy from it because it's not like it's being moved at light speed or anything like that. It's being moved slower than that. So it's like actual like calc without any like high end that isn't reasonable. It's like 9 Yoda tons for moving
Which
it. Okay,
is stronger than anything we've said for Obito.
minus like the high end interpretation for like Road to Ninja. Anyways.
He just got
So, the reason Vader would scale to this is dumb, and I love it. So, it's like, in the comics, a bunch of Night Sisters end up, like, attacking the Ewoks. And the, like, basically...
Why? Why?
The relic
Sisters,
ends up being
let's
used in
destroy
defense
these
for
Muppets.
them against the Night Sisters. I forgot to call the Juby an anorexic Muppet! I said I was going to call it that, and I forgot to call it that.
You
All right, you know what?
failed.
I'll just say it now. The Juby is an anorexic Muppet in its second form. All right. So the dark side relic ends up like being exhausted of all of its energies against the Night Sisters. They beat it. Is the point. And because of that, we could reasonably scale them to the energy because it's like it didn't lose all of its energy from moving the moon. It had still plenty of energy left over. The point is, energy at least equivalent to the moon move was wasted on trying to defeat them, and they overpowered that energy and overtaxed it, and eventually the relic ran out of energy. And Night Sisters, especially these, are freaking fodder. Even Episode 4 Vader. And then Episode 4 Vader in Legends and Canon, both, has like a decently high scaling chain. Because he keeps getting stronger and stronger in both iterations, eventually reaching his pinnacle.
Should you address the
Episode
whole
6.
belief that Vader is weaker than Anakin, which is not true?
Sure. So it's believed that Vader is weaker than Anakin because of some George Lucas statements here and there that was made like decades ago. But there are multiple guides, statements from like authority figures like Leland Chi and just like staff members that were present for both Legends and writers. Also for like Disney canon as well after Lucas gave up the rights. Both in like, even in materials such as like the games, recent games, but it's like comics as well, that Vader eventually outclasses Anakin. Like Anakin on Mortis, which is like a planet that is in the Clone Wars series that he ends up on that kind of like mega amps him because it's like like the focal point of all the Force basically. Like think of Mortis Anakin as like, I mean, if you wanted to see what like a chosen one at the ultimate potential would be, sure that, but he's never gonna reach that ever. But, like the point is Vader is above anything and everything Anakin showed in power, skill, and yada yada yada, minus like the Mortis amp. At least by Episode 6, Episode 4 basically he'd already surpassed him, but Episode 6, that version of Vader is nigh beyond anything he had ever been before.
I know the common consensus, or at least right now at the moment, is basically like a hypothetical like peak Anakin would outclass Vader, but he's never gonna reach that. So Vader at the moment would be.
I mean, in canon and even in like Legends, Vader is arguably nerfed in Episode 6 to some degree when he fights Luke because he's conflicted. And it's just established that like in canon because he met like Padme's I think it was her handmaiden or one of her like people who worked under Padme. He ended up meeting right before Episode 6, and it affected him emotionally. So it's like he's conflicted in Episode 6, and he was still kicking Luke's butt until Luke was kind of like
Until Luke decided not to lose anymore.
Well, he basically just angered Luke by bringing up that he was going to go after Leia, and that, like, in the novelization, like, the original novelization for Episode 6 mentions that, it basically the equivalent of, like, a dark side rage amp, pretty much. It's, like, one of Luke's few times he ever gives into something like that. And he kicks Vader's butt. But again, I mean, Vader at that point was pretty much, like, never gonna go entirely all out because of the confliction.
Because he loves his little boy.
Yeah.
But I did bring up Starkiller earlier. Like Vader lost to Starkiller in the first game, but he ends up like rivaling his far stronger or at least relative clone. The only reason he loses is because like Starkiller ends up like getting an amped round of Force Lightning from the sky on Naboo. No, it wasn't. Was it Naboo? No, it wasn't. It was Kamino. My bad. Not Kamino.
How the fuck you could use those planets?
I have. Hey, it's 8:44. I was supposed to be doing something else, but I love this matchup, so I'm willing to give it my time.
The third most wanted. I'm very happy it's happening. GB is gonna cook. GB's gonna cook. GB's gonna cook.
I'm not gonna say anything about a certain thing. Especially since Hyper's here. Anyway, like and plus nobody else is gonna know until like 2 days from now. So, anyways, so basically, like Starkiller has Starkiller's like noted in like the fan base as having like the good feats, like really good feats. He doesn't have anything that hits like planetary, but he, like visually on screen, he has some of the best stuff. In fact, I hope that for Vader's rundown, if their aim is to sell that he's like really powerful, have some of Starkiller's stuff shown on screen and then have them fighting, because that's a really good way to sell.
What, like the Star Destroyer thing?
like.
Yeah,
the Star Destroyer. There's like beating Rom Koda, who literally in his boss fight brings down like the command center down onto like a planet's atmosphere. He like blasts apart like large sections of a huge like suspension bridge. He charges up that one gun in like cannon from the ship that like fires and like splits a Star Destroyer in half in like the second game.
And Vader
like in the Wii version. It just like hits the Starkiller and like the Star Destroyer and like splits it, like just like sends both halves flying across space.
Has that been calced?
I don't believe so. It has. It would be something to calc. I know the bridge has been calced. That's like 47 megatons to like 31 gigatons, depending on how big you think the thing is. Moving the Star Destroyer, unfortunately, is not that impressive. It's like kilotons to like low megatons.
I mean, you say not that impressive.
I mean, it's still impressive.
It's not bad.
Visually, it's impressive. Hell yes. Like he moves. While he's on, like the clone is on the ship, and he's like moving the wreckage of a Star Destroyer and like a bunch of rebel ships. He also obliterates the Salvation, and in the novel, it stated he blew it into 1 billion pieces. The novel for Force Unleashed 2 does have a lot of hyperbole in it, but I don't think this is one. You want a hyperbole, it does mention that giant thing that was, like, hyped up in, like, trailers originally that was, like, way bigger than a Rancor, I can't remember its original name, was, like, the size of a moon, which obviously it's not even in the game. I mean, it's huge. It's, like, probably the size of a small city or something like that, but it's not, like, moon size.
What, you're talking about the Gorog thing?
Yeah, the Gorog.
Yeah.
The thing that ends up, like, falling down the sky and you have to fight it. A huge thing. It's like the size of several buildings at least, but it's not like the size of a freaking moon.
God, I've reached the point where whenever someone mentions something falling, I just imagine like the MK2 pit stage fatality, and just the hilarious flailing.
And Liu Kang versus Jago will take place in that pit.
Better have one of them just with a really stupid falling animation. I would love it.
All right, I guess we're gonna get into
other things of scaling really quick. So like, like Vader is hyped up as one of the strongest Force users in history across both canon and Legends. And frankly, Legends has multiple, and even canon, as statements that he scales to Sidious. I know a lot of people don't like that. Think that he's like weaker than Sidious. Sidious is only stronger than him in like a few aspects. One, dark side knowledge. Two, he freaking designed the suit. Like the suit itself was like poorly made because it was a rush job in Legends, and even in canon, it's still like, while it's not that much of a rush job. Like Sidious on his like sends Vader on a first mission that ends up getting him like his like limbs, robotic limbs scrapped. And he has to use like literal other scraps to put himself together. It's like Palpatine doesn't really didn't care to keep him up to have like a suit that was like insulated against lightning. I mean that's one way he keeps him in check in Legends.
It kind of makes sense for Vader to have like a kind of crappy suit because the dark side is powered the more pissed off you are, and if he's constantly being fucking annoyed by his everything, there's benefits there.
Oh my gosh, 76 found like these ridiculous aspects to the suit that's ridiculous. I think it had like a recorder or something. It has like I don't think the suit section is done, but it had it had a lot of stuff on it that's ridiculous, especially in the chest box. But
I just imagine him having like a tape player so he can play his.
I'm reminded of that silly Robot Chicken skit where he like has issues going like using the toilet.
I'm reminded of the fact that Batman literally just has speakers in his suit, and he can just play his mixtape so hard it kills you. Why even? Like, why does he have that? Like,
yep.
Like he's like I don't remember where I saw it, but he's got like he like presses a thing. It's like here's my sick beats, and that was then just like fires sound waves, and I'm just
okay. I guess to make this, I want to try and get through the scaling section fast. So it's like he would like Sidious himself, right, is hyped up as the strongest Sith. Period. He has like. I'm not joking. It's like 50 statements of this. He's the strongest Sith of all time, at least up until the point he dies.
Which time he dies?
So like,
because in Legends he does come back.
I mean, even for Dark Empire, he'd still be probably the strongest at that point. But like, Crate, like years later, surpasses him. But it's like the point is he would upscale from every Sith in history prior, minus maybe Vitiate, because Vitiate from like the MMO. Old Republic, he eventually renounces the title of Sith. He considers himself to be something more, like a Force deity, in a way. I mean, in a way, he's still a Sith, but if you want to be, like, technical, you could say that, like, Sidious upscales from any of Vicious feats while he's still classified as a Sith, but not... It'd be hard to say if he truly scales to any of Vitiate's stuff after he moves on from being a Sith and just becomes his own thing. It's like... a lot of Vitiate's feats are, like, ritual-based. There is one that's like he caused like a disturbance on a planet and that like affected its whole atmosphere, but even that was a ritual. If you think it's fine, it's like country level. It's also like stated to like cause the ritual that like caused atomization effects to some extent on the surface of a planet. Not the entire planet, but it like partially. I think that was like calced. Meg did a really low ball calc that was really low for it. I don't remember the exact value, but it's like super low. I did not expect it to get that value. I think it's actually on the original Palpatine blog. In fact,
I can go look for it while you're talking if you want.
21 teratons.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, I think that was because it wasn't calced as like atomization. It was calced as like,
not that.
Yeah, it was vaporization of some of the surface, but it is like really lowballed. It's just I don't think anyone would scale to that. Vitiate's like rituals require a hell of a lot of prep. Vitiate himself would just like basically upscale from a lot of other stuff. If you want stuff that don't require rituals, to make this quick, there's like Malik absorbing the Force energies that were like fueling the Starforge, which is like the original KOTOR game, which is like 1 exaton. There's like Palpatine ends up lifting a giant Star Destroyer that's like calced at like some 300 kilotons. And then there's like the Tremor. Okay, so the Tremor...
Oh no.
there's,
Oh yes.
there's the Tremor, and then there's the freaking twins, and then there's Jarl.
No, never mind. I changed my mind. No, not them.
Okay. I want to make all three of these fast.
Okay, well, I want to talk about Yariel first, at least, because there is one thing I want a bigger, because we're in VC now, so we can
Can we
discuss
do Jarl
it.
last? Second.
I want to talk about twins. I have something.
Okay,
to say
you can
about
do
that.
the twins, because I'm probably gonna dip after talking about Vader's abilities.
Okay.
Which can be.
Oh god, we've been doing this for like an hour, haven't we?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's why I gotta water these plants before they die. Anyway,
You can come back after, right?
I mean, yeah, I guess. But,
I mean, like
if
you
we're
can.
gonna do these
I mean,
three
like,
really
how
quick,
about this? How about this? Like, while Hyper talks about the twins, like, you can just water the plants or go outside
I'll
and
do
talk.
the twins right after I do the Tremor fast. So, like, the Tremor thing is that, like, in the Plagueis novel, Sidious kills Plagueis, who was, like, weakened at the time. And, like, there's this, like, really big description of that, like, a tremor goes out from Coruscant, and it's, like, it seems like the stars are shifting, and a new constellation has formed. And, like, Plagueis feels himself being, like, bathed and, like, by the dark side. It was almost as kind of like a branding in a way. The dark side is his, and he belongs to it as well. There are a few ways to view this. There's, like, another depiction of this same scene later on in the book, and there's no mention really of shaking that much. I think there was like an explicit thing that's mentioned that some stuff in his office did in fact move, so there was some sort of effect. Holy snap! It's dark outside. I'm gonna have to take a flashlight out. Anyway, getting to the point, what ends up occurring is that people like to argue that what ended up happening was by killing Plagueis, Sidious ends up sending out like a force wave, I guess, that like shakes the stars and like reascent, like moves them to make a constellation. I don't buy this whatsoever. The text makes it very clear that it's more like a gravitic shift, kind of like how like other events, where like the light side or the dark side is in flux, can cause like shifts to occur. I think there was even one with Bane. Let me quickly double check. I know that it's in like the old Q&A for the basically like other events cause like chain reactions. It's more like a feat for the dark side itself. Like Plagueis' death.
The dark side of the moon.
Causes it. Yeah. Here, a very good example of a similar feat is the changing of the balance of the Force's Shakti, whose beacon-like light side presence kept all of the dark side on the planet in check, which is not really attributed to her itself, but more so her presence in the Force. So it's like Plagueis' death causes the dark side to like react, which is what causes the shift. If there was such an actual powerful tremor, it would definitely be felt by the Jedi, and that makes no sense because the whole point is that Plagueis was Plagueis and Palpatine were in hiding. Nobody knew until Episode 3, pretty much, that that it was like that the Sith Lord in hiding was in question was him. I also know that some people argue that the whole scene itself is just prose, that it's like it's just like flowery description for everything he's feeling. Like, hold on, I know 76 did me a favor of like selecting it. Like one of it's like this: his eyes sought and found an ascending constellation of stars, one of power and consequence new to the sky, though soon to be overwhelmed by dawn's first light. Low in the sky over the flatlands, visible to only those who knew where and how to look, it ushered in a bold future. To some, the stars and planets might seem to be moving as ever, destined to align in configurations calculated long before their fiery births. But in fact, the heavens had been perturbed, tugged by dark matter in novel alignments. In his mouth, Sidious tasted the tang of blood. In his chest, he felt the monster rising, emerging from the shadowy depths and contorting his aspect into something fearsome, just short of revealing itself to the world. Like the way that was this put is, you can see it's like just metaphorical language describing Palpatine's feelings in that exact moment. Like the constellations is like representing Palpatine. One thing that was brought up to me is that nobody ever argues this one from the whole passage. There's a quote that says this: "Already the galaxy had been shaped by the birth of one, and henceforth would be reshaped by the death of the other." So it's like, if you take it as literal and try to slap on AP, it's like, why just settle with the stars? Like, the galaxy is being described. I could understand either argument. It's not like liquid fire was literally running through Palpatine at the time. So yeah, I can get why, like, people argue it's hyperbolic, or if like they're arguing an AP. I do not think it's AP whatsoever. I think it's a gravitic shift, like just a natural reaction of the dark side if you take this literally. Therefore, it's not even a feat that would scale to anyone. Like, maybe you could say Sidious is like the very personification of the dark side by Dark Empire. Vader does not scale to Dark Empire, Sidious. I know some people like to argue that, but there's literally like no reason for him to scale to him.
Yeah, and I didn't want to bring up. I don't want to bring up earlier how he could scale to basically almost every Jedi except for like maybe Luke at his except for Luke at his like maximum.
He doesn't scale to like Luke post like he maybe scales to him a bit post like Return of the Jedi, because like I said, like Luke was kind of like rage amped and like Vader was like nerfed. But it's like Luke eventually like outflat surpasses it. I mean, there's like the Shadow of Mindor book that's a little bit after Return of the Jedi, if I recall, where Chrono just flat out says that like Luke was beyond Vader and Luke was as strong as the Death Star at that time. So if you take that as literal, then that means that like Vader's probably not even as strong as the Death Star. I know the Death Star has like a calc that's like small. What is it? It's not. It's Dwarf Star, from like the kinetic energy of blowing up Alderaan, if I'm not mistaken. Something like that. So it's like, if you take that as literal, that would mean that like Vader himself is probably weaker than that. I mean, that'd be fine. Like he's still scaled to the Ewok thing that's actually weaker than like the Death Star. People like to argue that like, oh, in canon he scales to a bunch of kyber crystals that freaking Palpatine collected that like power these ships in Episode 9 that like blow up the planets. But it's like, even in that film, they like the way they do it is they shoot the cores, which then like branches out like an explosion like 30 seconds later. And it's not ever stated it's that like one single like kyber crystal per ship is what it's doing. It's like the kyber crystal helps, but it's like a bunch of other stuff goes into making those ships. And like, how like Vader wasn't even exposed to the energy of like the crystals. It's like he's like fighting. He's like being bashed by like them affecting his mind, because like the crystals are being like put into a state of pain. Like the crystals are like sentient, and like basically like Sidious is having them in like a perpetual state of torment to bring out their power 24/7. And like Vader walks up to it and like it's like affecting his being. He ends up surrendering to Sidious in that moment. It's not like he even takes like a portion of that energy. People also like to take out of context statements that like he's the quote unquote strongest weapon of the Empire in canon, which is never like, those statements are not talking about that. They're talking about like he's like their number one method of spreading fear. Which makes sense. That was like the whole point also of him too.
You know, there is one thing, because we're talking about that. There is one thing. I know it's not an argument most used, but it is something I've seen a bit. People upskilling him from the Star Killer or whatever. The Star Killer base. Yes.
Yeah, he doesn't scale to that either.
Yeah. You should elaborate on that, because you know more than me on that.
I mean, people like to argue that like Kylo has another statement of being like the strongest, but it's not talking about power. It's again, it's like a state of like military or fear. It's not. Kylo literally has no. Kylo being stronger than like the Starkiller base doesn't make much sense in context. When after being knocked out, he had to be removed from the collapsing like Starkiller base, or he would have died. I mean, I guess you could maybe say that he wasn't like amped by Force amplification at that moment. But
it would be really funny to argue that he's stronger than Starkiller Base, because he fucking feels it when Chewie just shoots him with a bowcaster, and that would imply
to be fair,
like Chewie's
lasers OP. Lasers OP, but yeah, no, I get you. There is like one statement in canon that could be interpreted that he's stronger than like an actual Star Destroyer. Like Star Destroyers have like feats in canon of like raising.
I mean, what class like, Star Destroyer? Like Imperial 2 or like Resurgence?
It doesn't specify, if I recall. It's just like he's stronger than like a Star Destroyer.
Because if it's like, First Order, it's probably not an Imperial 2.
I know they vary in feats, but like in canon, they like they can have like feats of like shooting the like
Oh
the
no,
surface of a
he's more
planet,
powerful than a
damaging
Zeiston
countries.
class Star Destroyer then. So he's a planet buster.
No,
Well,
no.
He did say the power to destroy planets.
It's not talking about
Yeah,
those
to
feats.
destroy a planet is
Yeah.
insignificant
Oh, people take
compared
that
to
out
the
of
power
context
of
so
the
badly.
Force.
You know, they
okay,
also
okay,
say
out of
they also say that the power to destroy an entire system is
That's
insignificant.
from Dark
The power of the
Empire, and that's
Force.
really shouldn't be used because
Yeah,
it's like
yeah,
a
it
butcher.
definitely means Vader's solar system in AP, guys. There's definitely no additional context. There's definitely no
Exactly.
other interpretations.
I agree. This is
All right,
true.
so
I like
I
imagining
guess
Vader just gassing himself up with shit like that. Like what?
Hyper.
What do you mean the
No,
Sun
wait.
Crusher can destroy
Hyper,
a
the
star?
twins,
I could do
go.
that.
Oh, the twins? Okay, sure. Anyways, don't use the feet. There you go.
Do you want to go
I
order
hate
some
you so
fucking
much.
plants?
Okay, so there's this.
Okay, I know. I got it. I
Yeah,
get it.
okay, now Cyber, water your fucking plants.
Go.
Yeah,
All right.
go. Okay.
I love how Hyper is just like there's nothing else. There's nothing else that needs to be said.
I mean, there isn't, but I'll go into detail. So, context. I'm just gonna explain what happens in the story first. So basically, there's these two identical twins who are like pretty much the same in every single way, and they both fall in love with like one person, but they each want to like, hey, I want her. No, I'll get her.
God, that's so
So then they
original.
fight. Yep, it's really pretty freaking interesting. Yeah, so then they fight over each other, and then basically they continue to fight, and then they clash each other so hard they explode and blow up the whole planet with the person and everybody else there, and it turns into a star.
Sounds like my
That's
high
not how
school
that
stories.
works. I don't think that's how
Yeah,
that works.
Yeah,
I
and
think it would
that's
become
and
nothing if it blew up.
yeah, I know. Yeah, but yeah, and then basically and it's basically just like a story Qui-Gon told him about, and it's like, and then some say that they're still battling to this day, and that they powered the star into the sky. It's like the same star we see blow up into the star. It's like, oh, hey, look, there you go, like star level or something. Except that story isn't real. It's not real. None of it's real.
I lied.
You should elaborate a little bit there, buddy.
So
You should elaborate there, little man.
yeah, I will. So basically, this story is from a collection. Is basically from a Tales comic series collection, and a lot of them just like have a bunch of non-canon gag stories, and basically the way this is treated, it's kind of like a myth story, because this is basically the story is basically told to a younger Obi-Wan to Qui-Gon as sort of like a myth fun, like a sort of like a myth fun story for him to imagine. And like, yeah, no, like basically like through most of it, yeah, people would agree it's basically just like a fake story for just to entertain Obi-Wan. But then the reason people argue it's real is because we see the same star that's made in the story show up at the end that Qui-Gon's looking at. Except you do know it could just be that it's just a fun explanation for why that star is there, when it could just literally been there the whole time. You know, but I guess no. That means
I think if you compare it to real life, that makes the feat pretty legit. I mean, Taurus, the constellation up there, that's definitely a giant bull from heaven who one day walked on Earth. So I think it's pretty legit.
yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. No, you're absolutely right.
And the
You're
sun, that is both a chariot and a guy and a guy's eyeball at the same time in one mythology
100.
somehow.
Yep, 100%. Yeah. Anyways, yeah. Though this feat is just literally just non-existent, and I don't know why this. I don't understand why this is being argued. Like, think about it realistically. How did they just blow up everything by just clashing into each other so hard? Like,
It's also two
By being very
Padawans.
powerful.
It's also
Yeah,
two,
but
it's also, it's also two
yeah.
Padawans.
Yeah, it's also done by two Padawans as well.
Look, Rena, you can't fucking comment when you brought up the fodder ninja moon cannon, okay? Shut the fuck
I
up.
brought it up as a joke, and they're also like Jonin. They're like high tier fodder at least.
You know
yeah.
what'd be funny? Using that feat and then upscaling it based on the amount of younglings that Vader killed as in episode 3.
So fucking true.
No, it's just like.
Oh my god, that's true. Nah, that's actually very true.
No, it's just like in the post analysis. Obito may scale to these fodder ninja who were able to blow up Muzutai's pieces.
Let's talk. No, it's gonna be like that fucking Ryu versus Jizzy. It's like Boomstick just says we knew exactly who to scale Vader to. Let's talk about the twins.
I just imagine Obito in like the fight using like a genjutsu to make Vader see like a child being like, there's no way he'd kill that, and then Vader's just like, no, it just kills it anyway.
I want to say, I brought it up. I feel unironically like that whole fucking like let's talk about Akuma is both ironically and unironically one of my favorite DB lines from Delivery. Like it's a huge oh shit moment in the community, but it's also really funny to me just the way he says it.
I think my one for that is literally just when they're like, yeah, Quicksilver's fast, but Flash is just much faster. It's like,
oh yeah, I remember making a fucking joke because like Killa's preview title is the same as Quicksilver, so I just made a joke. Like I just tell you, like, well, as fast as Killa was, Misuko was just much faster.
Oh my god, someone should do that with Dio Card.
As fast as Alucard was, Dio was much faster. I think. Okay, wait. I want to talk about ironic DD lines until Cyber gets back. Like fucking.
I just had a thought.
Ninja Skills is a funny one that gives me pain, but it's also really funny.
How many times have there been predictions and there's just moments that's just me and Rena laughing together and like that's just the bit. I just
we're good pals. We're good pals. We're good old buddies.
Okay. And then
you're not old.
No. Yeah, I'm not old yet.
Regarding I'm trying to think about any other like bigger feats for Vader that we would need to talk about. I guess.
Yariel. Oh no.
Yariel. I'd rather wait for Cyber on that one.
That one's definitely a cyber coded feat. I'm gonna be honest.
Why can?
The speed feats. Yeah, speed. Yeah.
Right. We should talk about that. Blaster bolts have a billion statements in Legends of being light speed, and everyone dodges them.
Yeah, so like everyone's just casually off, like But then I remember back in the old block for like really good speed scaling for Vader.
There was like this one droid who had like picosecond timing.
Yeah, picosecond. It got like. Yeah, and it got like 28.4 C, and
Luke saw that shit. Luke saw that bitch in slow motion, and Vader found on par with Luke.
Yeah, and Vader would decently upscale from that feat, right?
Well, I mean, he literally scales to a guy who sees characters that fast in slow motion.
Scales to a guy.
Yeah, a guy, a dude, an unimportant guy, some fodder.
Let's talk about some guy.
I remember.
Let's talk about the random Jonin.
I remember the scaling thing for it. It was like Vader is like equal to or slightly greater than Return of the Jedi Luke, and then he's definitely, and then like I don't SOT. I think that it's episode.
You can do it. I can believe in you.
I think that's episode 5, Luke. Wait, what was that feat performed again? It's been a while.
Well,
I'm pretty sure it was episode 5.
That doesn't help
episode
when you
5.
just say what was that feat when I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, so basically, some random droid girl could time down to 6. Yeah, she could time down to 6.1 picoseconds. And accounting for the difference between perception and reaction timing, her reaction time would be around 28 times the speed of light. And then Luke sees her in slow motion, and Vader scales.
Yeah, that was episode 5. Yeah, that was episode 5, Luke, which Vader would definitely upscale from.
I was thinking about back when Versus Wiki scaled like all the Legends characters to the World Razor, and I just imagined, let's talk about the World Razor.
No.
Let's talk about Sidious.
Actually, imagine like recording Cyber's reaction if they come in with, let's talk about Abeloth.
Oh my god.
I'd rather.
I'm not sure if he's going to be on the Red Runner reaction.
Okay.
Cyber should just do a reaction that's just like him, and he's just pausing like every 5 seconds to be like, so actually, there's some contention about that. You see in this guidebook. Oh god, Cyber's gonna see all of this. when
Cyber, come back.
Yeah, if you watch this part when you're back,
We
my,
love you no matter what.
my brother despises Bleach.
Bleach is good. Fuck him. Fuck,
I don't
fuck
know,
that.
it doesn't
Fuck-
taste that great. It's kind of just like
That's a
silly.
great line for Cyber to come back to. Amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Bleach-
anyway,
Bleach is
I
awesome.
think scaling to Abeloth is debatable, and I think it's pretty reasonable. Just come in with that when he's back.
Okay.
Okay,
Other
let's say that when he comes back. That'd be really funny. That'd be really funny.
Yeah. Other speed stuff. There's also a laser, that Anakin deflects. Wait. No. It was not Anakin. It was by some. Okay, no, it was by some other Jedi that got like at a high end. Was like at 26C.
Yeah, it's basically like the same. It's basically just consistency. I might need to redo it, but like it is still pretty fast. It's it's playing faster. Like he's on like the laser's like so close to that child, and then he's not on panel, and then he shows up and deflects it away. It's definitely super fast.
Okay. And
But
28C is the highest I think Vader would get.
okay, well you see we need to talk about Han Solo's MFTL feat.
Ooh yeah, boy.
I love that. He just has
So,
like
yeah,
like,
I think we
like,
should
there's
talk about how Han Solo and
Has the
I'm pretty
fastest
sure Force
speed.
Awakens.
has
Yeah.
the fastest feet. Like nothing is technically wrong with it. It's just a blatant outlier.
Nothing's wrong with it.
It's-
It's just wrong in general.
Yep.
But basically, for those in Force Awakens, Han, while in hyperspace, he like has enough time to like he has enough time to like stop the Millennium Falcon like in the between like it travels like galactic distances, and he has enough time to like manually stop it while in the time it takes like between the Falcon to reach Starkiller's base, and like I'm pretty sure an old Calgafit got like 14,000 times the speed of light, which is I'm pretty sure it is the fastest legitimate feat in all of Star Wars.
Hey, they use the
I
ship
mean-
feet for Stitch. That means they'll use it for Han Solo, and Vader will scale to it. GG's.
So true feat.
Wasn't there also?
What if we pretend
there
that
also-
that logic applies to Rise of Skywalker, where they're hyperspace
Hyper-
jumping all over the place?
There's also a novel feat that was used in like over in the official server. I think it got like millions times like faster than light.
Is it the
I don't
Palpatine
remember.
one where it's like he traveled? Like
No. It's no. It's like I think it's like they're hitting asteroids like while in the ship, or like they're like dodging debris. I don't remember too clearly, but I can't like try to find it.
It has
I
the
just-
same energy as Namek saw Goku being trillion times FTL.
Yeah, I just thought about Dragon Ball whenever I heard this feat.
I'm sorry for
Alright.
killing Minato. Except I'm not.
Yeah, it was real nice. Too bad
Uh,
Minato will win the episode.
I'm
Oh,
trying to remember.
he probably will, but like, so I don't see anything wrong with Bardock at least going to like the Toei Goku feat because that's literally base Goku before any real training.
After Dragon Ball, Star Wars. Also, there's
The
also.
Dragon Ball is better than Star Wars, and you know it.
I mean, I do. We need to think about that. But also, for Vader, wasn't there also something with like his perception speed, like reacting to hyperspace? I remember.
Oh
I
yeah,
saw that.
so like force precognition is super broken. Like maybe like you can debate if his like reactionary, like his regular speed will, but with precognition he can like time in hyperspace. It's super. It's honestly like we're gonna get into ability soon, but like his precognition blows Obito out of the water. There's like actually no debate on that. It is like force precognition is not infallible. Like I can name several instances in plenty of the movies where like force precognition should have kicked in and they just died still. But like I would still say like on a consistent level, like the highest ends of force precognition are better than anything in like Naruto.
Which it feels really strange to me considering some of the stuff I've heard in Naruto. But go figure.
Well, okay,
Itachi.
well, it actually isn't really precognition. It's more like mental stuff. It's not precognition is different.
Okay.
Hold on. I'm gonna BRB. You guys can talk.
Okay. So, anyways, here's the real reason why Vader scales to win.
I'm trying to remember the name of that fucking ship in Legends that's like it's powered by like a Jedi. I don't remember it. It's probably not applicable.
Yeah. Both have like I guess regarding their other feats. I'm trying to think of like any other.
It's funny because I think
I
people
guess-
are right now waiting for us to bring up like the actual feats that Vader can scale to that are substantial beyond the Ewok thing.
I mean,
Yariel stopped the plant level bomb. There you go.
I mean, technically the Ewok thing is the highest feat we have so far. I'm pretty certain.
That is so base. That is like immensely base. I don't know what else to say. That's so goated.
For the Yaro thing, it's like stating that he's like able to bind together the force energies for the bomb. So it should blatantly like scale to AP.
There's a lot of
But
debate.
I don't know. I don't know if
some
Cyber has any contention against it though. I know Kingsley does. So
there is
I
some
thought-
debate
wasn't he
on
buff?
if like containing. There is some debate on if containing means like even like holding the energy of the infinite shot together.
yeah,
Like,
that's what I'm
But there's a
saying, I'm
lot
not
of
sure.
statements that imply that he is literally like holding the energy together.
Nah, he
And
just
even
put it
though
in-
he
just
does
put it in a
die,
Tupperware box, honestly.
and even though he does die, that was because he got stabbed in a very vital area beforehand. And some guidebooks imply that if Yariel, if he wasn't stabbed, then he could have lived. So, and he's a pretty decent, high-ranking member of the Jedi Council, but Vader would definitely upscale from the lads.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Hi,
still,
hi.
the best feat he would scale to is again the Ewoks, which is
I
done
think
by
the best
basically
feat scale
father
to
to him.
is just the Abeloth stuff. I think it's a fairly reasonable argument to make.
I can't tell. I can't tell if
My
your slash.
bullshit
I can't tell if
meter
your
is
slash.
going on. My bullshit meter is going on.
I love how that's the
I
first
know.
thing to come back to.
Yeah, he actually came back to it. That's great.
Yub nub. Yub nub.
Yub nub intensifies.
I come
Yeah.
with Abeloth and he counters with Yub Nub.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Abeloth, like,
To be fair, do
blatantly
you think
says
Abeloth
when,
could
like,
even beat
fighting.
the Ewoks? I mean, you know, one of the ways that Darth Vader can
The
beat
Ewoks
Superman
stole
is
all of
Ewoks.
fiction. The Ewoks,
Yeah.
Listen, episode 6 was partly meant as, like, marketing for these things, so, like, they sold all of fiction.
Look, what is Abeloth gonna
Yeah.
do when she tries to go through the moon of Endor and then two logs come in on either side of her and just... I mean, let's be
She'll
honest.
die like she brutally died when, like, Luke ripped her apart when he was, like, in a state of oneness.
If
Because
only
that
he had
is-
Star
that
Killer
is
on
what
his
you
side.
do with the light side of the Force. Peacefully ripping people apart.
No, I'm serious. Okay, so we had like a CDB for like Luke versus Rowland from Spectrobes. I don't even know care if you don't know what that game is. Like it's kind of obscure. I like it, but like I was reading through a bunch of stuff for every depiction of oneness. There's an example midway through like the final set of books for like the legend stuff, where like he forces it, and it's like described that it's like the usage of it is like killing his cells because he forced it. But he like. Their fight is like brutal. She like stabs through him at multiple points. He like rips off her arm, like brutally punches through her. It's like a bloodbath, basically. He doesn't even use his lightsaber.
The image of Luke punching someone is just...
It's like it's a brutal throwdown with like just body parts going all over the place. From Abeloth. Yeah, it's one of Luke's more violent moments.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I mean, she
what we
deserved
talked
it.
about, I finished.
Yariel, it's a blame level feat. It's
Yeah,
blamely
yeah.
plan level.
A blame
At least
level.
it's at least
I think
splitting
it's
force up.
debatable. I think it's debatable. You could argue either way. I don't think.
It doesn't even matter because the Ewoks exist. It's not even like as impressive. So like I don't.
That's
really-
true.
That is
Like
fucked
a
up.
solid planet.
Why can Yariel be debated but the Ewoks can't?
The Ewoks is a more blatant thing. I mean, I guess you could maybe like slap like, should we even accept KE stuff? But that would also apply to Naruto.
Guys, I just want you to think about how like proper the comparison would be between Obito and Vader if we just did like Yaro and like Toneri or something similar.
We did do
But
that
instead,
for
but
the
instead,
vlog. It was literally Toneri versus Jarl.
yeah. But what I'm saying is that instead it becomes something much sillier because you just bring up Ewok and how it makes Vader like thousands of times stronger or whatever.
It's gonna be Ewok versus I mean, I would not be surprised if it doesn't end up being like the kinetic energy from the Jubi thing. But would it be funny if like it's like, oh yeah, this is directly from like one component of Jubito, and on one end and on the other end
we have silly scaling from the Ewok show from a comic that Vader ends up getting scaling to, but he had nothing to do with it himself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Oh yes, Cyber. I want to see if like you have any thoughts on the MFTL Plus feat. Like specifically, it's regarding like the Legacy run. It's like in this novel, I think.
Are you talking about hyperspace stuff?
I believe no. I'm not sure if they were using hyperspace in that instance. Like that's something I'm not really too knowledgeable on. So
It's a ship
Tomorrow
feat,
when
though.
Ewoks move a moon, Nemesis, I would give you a big high five.
No, it's definitely a ship feat, but it's like a reaction ship feat.
I
if
think
that makes
there's
sense.
I think you could possibly spin it the way Sneed was basically it's like they probably have like precog that's like faster than their own reactions maybe. Like Vader has like if we're talking speed like oh gosh that was all APs.
We briefly mentioned the 28C part. Don't worry.
We talked a
There's
bit
also,
about
like,
we talked about Han
dozens
Solo,
of
too.
statements. There's like dozens of statements like light blasters in Legends
Yeah, we
are
brought that
like light speed. Did you guys go over the one that explicitly says that it's from like Coruscant Nights? So I like the blaster from the droid is explicitly stated not just light speed but like the actual what was it 300,000 what was the hold on give me one moment what does that sound
I don't know.
There is no sound.
or was it sound like a
Wait,
moment
what-
ago?
What
You're hearing
sound?
things.
I think that was like I think I heard a mobile app.
I suspect Nemesis for whatever
No,
reason.
That's not me.
That could be
you-
issues on. That might be issues on
wanker.
my audio end.
All
Are you
right,
saying it's
right,
like was it like a loud sound?
No, it's not. It wasn't that. Reacted to and stopped I-5's lasers after they fired, which are explicitly said to move at just under 300,000 kilometers per second.
Hmm.
I love that feat because it's like you can't even say, "Oh, the authors were being hyperbolic with a nanosecond statement or the speed of light." It's like, nope, they literally slap on a stated speed for the blaster.
I can't believe a Marvel Comics writer helped to write something related to Star Wars. It's ridiculous.
Nemesis, check the chat. Nemesis, check the chat.
Brilliant.
I fucking love this Punisher gift.
I love it. It's funny because it's such a good fucking scene in the show, but then like out of context is the funniest thing in the world.
Isn't like incredibly sad, like with context?
It's actually a really good scene. Yeah. I
How do you make these so fast?
it's
I have a bot.
Yarrow with Ewoks move a moon. I'm gonna post this in the server. I don't care. I'm posting this in the
Look,
server.
if-
You
I'm
guys
posting
can't
it. I'm
stop
posting
it.
it. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you. I'm posting
But
it
you
and
credit-
did it.
Oh, I hate you. I hate you.
I didn't even
hate
get
you.
credit for making. The
What are you guys talking about? Like,
Look
are
what
you
I
trying to
posted.
the
promote?
chat,
Look what I
you-
posted in the
you
chat.
golden opsid.
All right. So you guys mentioned the 28C thing, right?
Yeah.
And the
I'm
Han
not
Solo
super
feat.
big on hyperspace stuff, but I totally get it. Like in canon, in one of the Thrawn novels, like basically like Thrawn and Vader on a ship that it's like automatic pilot thing for hyperspace is damaged, so they have to manually do it. And Vader has to spam what's called double vision, viewing like the future specifically, like a combative version of the precog, available to both Jedi and Sith. And he spams that thing over and over in order to get themselves through hyperspace and not hitting any mass shadows. So it's like, maybe, if you really want to argue something like that, that is a canon example. It's like, I think there's like even a passage in like the Jedi Path or something like that Jedi, like trained to use like precognition also to like help fly through hyperspace and whatnot.
So if he has double vision, does he have intellivision? Someone's got to get that joke, please. Someone.
Wasn't television. You got me.
You fucking infants.
What was that from?
It's a console.
Oh.
Oh, a console? Oh, I missed it because like I know a lot of consoles. Was the did you say Intellivision? I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I know that.
Oh, fucking thank God.
Okay, so
It was
Stats
a
are done.
AVGN joke.
hopefully,
Double
what did
vision.
you two end up saying about the twins?
That's right. Oh wait, there
It's-
is one thing I want to mention.
it's-
There is one thing I want to mention about Yario.
Oh,
There is one
fuck,
thing.
what?
There is a statement that would create a bright light visible to the outer in the galaxy. What do you think of that?
Pretty accurate. I'd go with it.
Was that from that one guy that like we have, that, like one dinosaur-looking dude?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think so.
I wouldn't put too much thought on that. That guy has like zero knowledge, mostly on the Infinite Shaw.
Well, that's rude.
All right. What was the one? What the heck happened?
Anyway,
Give me
we
a
brought
moment.
up that the twins is a pretty valid feat, but unfortunately, due to surface area, it would probably only get around city to mountain level.
Yep. I guess abilities. We could go to abilities now. I think
Yeah.
that's everything for stats. Okay.
Oh,
Oh,
God,
right. I
abilities.
guess really fast. Nagasadao and Alima causing supernovas is not legit, people. Come on, read the actual like stories. It's literally just either done through rituals
That's
in
overrated.
conjunction with Nagasadao's
Oh,
ships,
actually,
or it's from the dark side energy collected on his ships, and it's like
because it was brought up in Death Battle. Do you want to talk about the Star Destroyer throwing thing and the that?
He was amped.
Yeah.
Listen, man. I'm like, I want to say, I really don't like Obi-Wan versus Kakashi's story because a lot of feats, like aside from Yario, almost every feat they mention is like.
I know
At
it
least
can be
it's-
strange to see Jedi being this
Really
powerful
quick,
and
really
deadly, but think of it this way: part of the reason why they have the code is because of this immense power.
okay,
at their
Ivor, shut off! Okay, so it's like Kip Duron scales above Yoda and Obi-Wan, explicitly stated to be far stronger than them. Is also stronger than Vader. You cannot scale to like the black hole stuff. Also can't scale to Luke's version of it because by then he's above Vader completely. The moving like the Star Destroyer thing was like an amp feat as a group, and it ended up killing the guy who was responsible for it. Yada yada yada.
And it wasn't like the slight amp. It was like they literally said like he was never been this strong in his entire life, and he
It was
literally
also on
died from it. He
If
died
I'm not
from it.
mistaken, it was also like on a force like a force rich location.
Yeah.
Also, there is like an argument, I guess, to say that like Dark, like by the time of Dark Empire, Sidious is like a force nexus in itself. Maybe scale him to like the Valley of the Jedi, which has like solar system busting statement.
I'd go with it. Pretty
It's like-
accurate.
I mean, the problem is it's really not viable to scale Vader to that. Anyways, I think we're done.
Bias.
There is one thing like he would scale to Grievous obviously, but Grievous, the feat they mentioned that was like he survived an explosion that collapsed the surface of the planet. The panel they literally show says it was explicitly a chain reaction. He would only survive to like the underground city being detonated first,
I mean, if you're gonna talk,
All right.
I want to bring up the whole Kip Duran and like scaling Obi-Wan to it. How the fuck did anyone interpret what was said as, oh, Obi-Wan's just as strong as this? How the fuck did anyone interpret
I think
it that way?
I think what Masumi the most is saying that's way above dual Mangekyo Kakashi, and it's like.
By the way, Kip's feet, at least one of these, that like ended up pushing him so bad he nearly passed out from doing it.
Fucking
Like,
lightweight.
messing with the Dovin Basil, the black hole.
I could do that
It
shit.
was like
No, you can't.
Yeah, I fucking can. People have power scaled
you
me on Reddit for some reason, and I've got like a multiverse.
Really?
feat. Yeah,
you were power scaled.
yeah. Because I use my
pretty
avatar
wrong.
sometimes in videos for jokes, and like I would scale to a multiversal feat.
That's cool.
Awesome.
Anyways, let's continue. Abilities. Obito. Kamui.
Kamui.
Oh God.
No comment.
So Kamui,
How do
does
I
he have
make this
Senketsu or Junketsu?
I hate you so.
he's-
Okay,
he's
I want to
he-
give you a
he-
high
he looks
five, but
like-
I also hate you.
I think he looks like a I feel like he's Obito's more of a Senketsu guy.
I mean, but you look at his like
Oh,
color
he's
form, and that
definitely a
feels more like
Junketsu.
Junketsu.
That's fair. That's fair.
Ah, God, I just.
No,
imagined
he's,
him doing this,
He's
like,
what was that
transformation.
Kamui that was used by Ragyo?
Oh, what was it called?
Shinra Koketsu, I think.
I think that one is definitely. It lines up with the whole Infinite Tsukiyomi. That would definitely be the one Obito would wear.
Okay, well, whatever. Kamui. Makes him intangible. He can use it for 5 minutes consecutively.
It's not just normal intangibility, by the way. He just like.
He's
locates-
literally phasing through another dimension.
Yeah, so it's not like oh, I can hit Ghost, I can hit you. That's not
Which
how
makes
that
it funny to me, like, because I know Kakashi, he fucking calmly Data's arm, so I'm just imagining Toby's chilling in his dimension, and he literally just sees a fucking arm just go into his eye. What the fuck?
I want them to show a scene of that. How we go.
They
That'd be
should
amazing.
they shouldn't address it. They should just have it and just have an arm in the background.
That'd be so good. Just Data's rotting, decaying arm just there.
His data arm.
that
Yeah.
location seems to have oxygen, which is really weird.
It's just a different dimension oxygen. Yeah.
I mean, it's basically the same thing as like freaking like DBS when they like erase the timeline, but somehow Goku can breathe.
I mean, we are also talking about a matchup that involves Star Wars here, where fucking every planet has oxygen.
All right,
Yeah.
I'll shut up.
Anyways, yeah, it makes him intangible. He can also use it to BFR characters.
The problem with the BFRing, there is a small this is actually something exploited against him in like fights. When he tries to BFR, he has to be like physical for just a moment. When he's trying to do it, he's like located like on Earth as he's pulling off the BFR. So you could theoretically, like, if you're fast enough, attack him as he's attempting to do that, and he won't be able to phase because he's using that.
You're fast enough, and you have precognition, so you know what's gonna happen.
Span that double vision. How many quarters for double vision?
50.
But it is a very good ability. Does Vader even have a counter if he gets sucked into Kamui dimension?
The main counter so far that I've seen is like cross-dimensional usage of the Force, but I'm not sure how much I want to lean on like that being applied.
So wait,
the old one we applied for the old block, admittingly, is not necessarily a one-to-one example. So it's like the context for that is like right after Dark Empire, Exar Kun's soul from like the old Republic eras comes back, and like traps Luke's soul in a pocket dimension, and Luke tries to use the Force to contact his students, and through sheer effort, like pushing himself to the brink, he's able to make sound on like Yavin 4 while trapped in like this pocket dimension for R2-D2 to pick up on. But that's the problem though. It's like, I guess you could argue if he had his body. I just realized we glanced over the MFTL Force Spirits thing. Luckily, Sneed gave us the one thing that kills that very fast. There's an explicit statement in Legends that Force Spirits do not abide by the force of like the laws of physics. So any attempt at slapping on some sort of MFTL count for them is
meanwhile,
pointless.
all these characters dodging things at the speed of light does obey the law of physics.
No, get what it's like. They like translate straight
the Force
into
is famously a very physics-based thing, you know.
Momo, attack Nemesis! No, okay. Alright.
You treat him like a fucking Pokemon, bro?
I could say something, but I'm not going to say it.
Wow,
I was gonna say
that's really
maybe I
messed up.
should
I know what you're gonna say.
Okay,
I know. I'm
so
not gonna say
here's my
it.
question: If Obito later goes into Kamui himself and Vader's already there, can Vader just like beat his ass in there?
I mean, I guess, but why would Obito go there?
I don't know.
if he left him?
Maybe Obito later comes across Darth Sidious and he's like, "Oh shit!"
Some
never
video
mind,"
games
just
depict,
hides, and Obito's like, "Whew, I
like
escaped
some-
that guy," and then Vader's just behind him and starts whacking him.
Some video games depict him as like being able to like control like the giant blocks in Kamui and drop them like telekinetically to like crush stuff. It's never really shown in the manga though, so I'm not sure how much I'd lean
So
on
what if Vader
using
kills himself in Kamui and then his ghost goes out and that starts fighting Obito?
that. That's not how that works.
It is now. I've decided it. I decree it.
Um,
I want to say that like while Vader might struggle with like a counter once he's in the Kamui dimension, he probably has ways to prevent himself from getting into the Kamui
I mean, sure,
dimension.
but it's like
depending on where you are.
like smacking Obito
the
upside
number one
head.
argument I've seen is that he can like use the Force across hyperspace, which is like a higher spatial dimension,
Yeah.
which unfortunately is a higher spatial. So it's like, okay. So there's multiple statement. It's above like 4 dimensions, but like the most explicit is there's this character I can't remember her name, but she's a Jedi, a former Jedi, and she takes the equivalent of what is Force weed, and
What?
like, overdoses on it, basically.
Someone call the
And-
base department.
and it basically forces her into a state of like forced
Forces.
oneness, connecting her with all of the Force, and allowing her to see all of like existence. And she sees hyperspace, and like she ends up also double confirming that, and like she does this twice, by the way. That it's like the Force entwines and like encompasses it, but hyperspace is also like above, basically like, like the four dimension. Although that does bring up an interesting point. If the Force encompasses it already, does that really make it that impressive? Vader's just using something that omnipresently exists across this to pull off. Whereas, like, I'm not sure you could prove the Force exists within Kamui without, like, going into some really serious, like, versus equalization headcanon. So it's like, I think you would need a better example. You need, like, an example of, like, using the Force from yourself, I guess, somewhere where the Force is not proven to necessarily exist. That's another dimension.
Okay.
And then, like, affect them.
What if
Cyber, Cyber, to like devil's advocate real quick, we already use verse equalization for a lot of aspects of like
Yeah, but this is like Kamui is like a pocket dimension exclusive to Obito. That, like, why would it have the Force like existing within it?
Yeah, no, I get it. Like but that's mainly like a issue of like the Force inherently not being a thing in Naruto. But it's like no different than like chakra not being a thing in Star Wars. Like I'm just saying that like it's not really that.
Chakra is like,
an argument in that sense.
I guess you could pull like the whole Sage mode thing from up to. I don't know. Obito doesn't have Sage mode,
if Luke could make sounds through a dimension, could Vader do that in Kamui and just constantly say really rude things to Obito until Obito kills himself?
Vader's gonna learn from the legend himself.
Anyways, okay, we should Genjutsu.
Genjutsu's
Oh,
kind
that's
of
another big
irrelevant on both ends. Vader has a bunch of like mental defenses, and Obito surprisingly has a crap ton of like mental defenses you can argue for him.
And he can bypass.
What do you mean? What the fuck do you mean surprisingly?
Yeah, Obito's Genjutsu is really powerful because he's able to like Genjutsu like
No, I'm not even
literal
talking about
perfect
the potency
Genjutsu.
of his. I'm not talking about the potency. I'm talking about his defenses. I remember when we wrote. I don't.
Rinnegan gives you mental blocks, doesn't it?
That's what I was talking about. He has a ridiculous amount of. I made a huge paragraph for it. Withstood the Ten Tails tearing apart his consciousness, eventually overpowered it with his sheer will and gained control of its power. The Rinnegan can create several mental blocks and Genjutsu traps against invading minds, including like the head of the Yamanaka clan, who has really potent mental connection that it can like connect with like thousands of shinobi in the war arc. He ended up beating out. Like, he was caught off guard by Ino, and she entered his mind for just a split sec, but he basically like kicked her out. Shinobi are trained to break Genjutsu with release seals. Sharingan and its evolutions repel visual Genjutsu off of its mirror aspect. The base Sharingan... Okay, this is the big one. The base Sharingan even allows users such as Sasuke... This is like beginning of Shippuden Sasuke, who has not even gotten Mangekyo yet. Mangekyo. Can overpower Orochimaru's mental universe, which, by the way, in the manga and in the anime is called like a mental universe. It's like a giant mental space. And what it
Universal
does...
Naruto.
No, it destroys the minds of those who enter.
Yeah,
Sasuke is also
It's
stated in the
historical.
data book that, like, I know it's like a hot topic whether or not like Itachi's Tsukiyomi on him and their like actual fight was meant to do anything. Like the data book does say it's like, yeah, it was used on him and Sasuke actually broke it. It's not. I mean, like Itachi was weakened, but it's like it attributes that Sasuke broke out with like just a base Sharingan, something. Again, like, the manga varies explicitly that, like, yeah, Obito is, like, superior to Sasuke in all aspects of, like, eye usage, up until probably EMS.
Out of context, that sounds so stupid.
Let's see, where was I? Jinchuriki, this would apply to Jubito, are capable of resisting the binding effects and control of the Rinnegan's, like, black receivers to an extent, which, like... are capable of overriding control. Also, as he probably wouldn't get the perfect Jinchuriki benefits because he's not. He was also able to fight off Black Setsu's control over his body for quite a while. I mean, eventually he was slowly losing control, but he was pretty much dying as it's like Obito. One really big thing about Obito is his tenacity and his endurance. Is like He's basically like kind of like I mean no disrespect to him, but he's like a cockroach. He won't die. The
Until he
Ghetto
does.
Mazo thing was supposed to kill him. The Rennie like having it ripped out. The using the seventh path to resurrect people, which was hijacked from Madara. That didn't kill him. Being dropped from a ridiculous altitude, while like super weakened after having all the beasts removed, didn't kill him. Like, there's a bunch of stuff that should have killed him. I think like Black Zetsu even comments, "How the hell are you still alive?" He's one of the I mean, heck, the thing that like I mean, Vader himself is also super tenacious as well. But like the thing that like made Obito what he is realistically should not have survived that. Though those rocks like destroyed half of his body. How the hell did he survive that?
Hey, they both.
Cyber,
they,
I just
they
want to
both
say
lost half their body.
I love the Swag Kage video that's like explaining it. It's just like Obito lost like literally half of his body, half of his vital organ system, half of his lungs, and he's still kicking around. Like, definitely not a big hole at all.
He lost half his brain.
Half of his head was crushed. Half of his head was crushed to an extent.
Technically, he shouldn't be able to control the other half of the body he has left, because that half his brain is just.
I mean,
gone.
the implication is that Madara rebuilt half of his body using Zetsu flesh, but that doesn't explain how he was.
I'm just imagining Madara as like a
He was
surgeon.
conscious for like a good while. Like, there's just no explanation.
Just imagine Madara with like a surgical mask and like full doctor's gown, and he's just like, "I'm going to do some very careful surgery on you now," and he's just doing this surgery on Obito. Obito's just got to sit there and accept it. What can he do?
Yeah.
You know, on the
Wait a
topic,
minute.
on the topic of Universal Naruto, it's not called the finite Tsukuyomi. I'm just saying.
I mean, it is called limited Tsukuyomi in the movie. The whole like
Yeah,
making
well, then
another
neither
world
can
is-
go blow me, okay?
Oh my.
Oh.
Homelander versus Nemesis win.
I win.
Well, he stops because you're multiversal and he isn't.
I wonder where Homelander on my channel would scale. Probably not very high, actually. He's not fought anyone that would scale anywhere. Actually, no. Homelander just completely fails to injure like universal characters on my channel. So no. Yeah, Homelander dies. I'm just too good.
I want to kind of wrap this up. So it's like
All right, let's hurry up. All right, he has other abilities. TSOs. They're pretty good. They're at least molecular destruction.
TSOs are debated amongst this community, especially after Madara eyes into whether or not they destroy the soul. The popular debunk is, oh, they negate ninjutsu, so therefore they release the pieces of the soul. And I'm like, that's not how that works. The soul is even like stated to be together, kind of in the data book. So it's like, we literally see Minato's soul come out of the Edo Tensei, and his soul is the arms.
Oh no,
I wish the Boruto anime would just show us Minato in like the Pure Lands, the afterlife for just a moment, because it would shut up the ongoing
He's
debate
still
between the
missing a
TSOs.
I don't know
Yeah,
why
if he's-
I imagine the argument made to Cyber against the soul thing, and I just imagine Cyber reflex reacting, just fuck off. Just fuck off. No. Wrong. Just
I mean,
instantaneous.
it's like an annoying little thing because it's like people got all like up in arms when that happened for the episode.
Of course
It's
they
like,
did.
yeah. No, they also carry like atomic destruction. So they're like superior to Onoki's like particle style, which destroys things on an atomic level. They are stated to be the exact same as the ETSO from Kaguya in the data book, which is capable of destroying space-time and creating a new one. And they potentially have existence erasure. That could also possibly just be a tribute to like the atomic destruction.
Yeah.
They also have power null because they negate ninjutsu.
So can Vader throw
Vader
them back
had.
at him? Like just grab him with the
Well,
force
he
and throw
could
them
block
back?
them. He can
I love
actually
that. I
block
love
them.
that because apparently I was the one who created this argument. Guru credits me. When we did the OG blog, I petitioned that there's elements between canon and legends for like the Force having different aspects. That some of its aspects could allow it to apply as like similar to Senjutsu from Naruto, like natural, like nature chakra, which is like the counter to TSO. Like if you attack TSO
with Sage, with like a Senjutsu, it doesn't destroy it. Like that's actually a plot point as to how they harm Jubito, because he also like his body negates ninjutsu, right? As Jubito. So it's like the argument was if the Force has this application, maybe something like a Force barrier might be able to stop a TSO. It would be like, it is like, it is very subjective, but it's like I had a whole document for like different components of like the Force matching 1-to-1 almost with like several aspects of like I could post some scans for it that we could put in this video, but it like matching with what Senjutsu is described to be and how it works. I don't know if how they'll do that in the episode. I know that like Speedy has obviously read the old G1 blog, and I think we brought it up again when we did Sauron versus Vader as a CDB, which I'm still disappointed that all those CDBs were lost, because like Kingsley had posted like applications of the soul for the Force that I wasn't even aware existed. Those scans are gone, and Kingsley doesn't have them anymore either. It's like they all got nuked to the void when.
I mean, if we would assume the Force doesn't work on them, I mean, couldn't he just grab Obito and just use him as a shield too?
Hypothetically, but there's not like one of Obito's favorite applications is Jubito. He likes to wrap himself around as an omnidirectional like barrier with TSO. So it's like that would kind of like negate Vader just using him as a shield. I mean, sure, he pulls him forward. It's like he's not getting the TSOs themselves can't hurt Jubito. I mean, they could in his like uncontrolled state. They ended up blowing off half of his body, and that showed just how good his regen was. But it's like as like his controlled state, he ends up getting like I can't remember. There was a sequence where they end up like teleported back at him. They do jack to him. Like, they're not gonna. I mean, his own TSOs are not gonna harm him.
Could have brought that up. Could have brought that up earlier. Could have said something.
So yeah, like using him as a shield probably wouldn't be a good idea. It really wouldn't amount to much.
Yeah, I think the best argument is just the force barriers, or like literally Vader just redirecting them.
We know that this is actually something that we brought up in the old blog, and I think it's a cool power equalization thing. But Jubito is susceptible. Well, he's not like explicitly weak, but like he is capable of being harmed by Senjutsu.
We just brought that up.
Oh,
Yeah.
What you could do is that like Vader in canon and Legends is depicted as having like being able to use the Force on multiple targets at once. You could just have him like use the Force to like grab a TSO as it's coming at him and then like fling it back. The problem is, especially if you include Storm 4, TSOs can expand to several dozens of meters, possibly hundreds, or detonate.
The sword of Numbaku is like fucking huge in Storm 4.
Yeah, so like, let's say Vader ends up grabbing one near him and is about to throw it back. Like, Obito could literally just expand it on the moment. There is like a range limit for it. I try to remember. Do you remember what?
It was 70 meters. It's basically like it was when Madara used it. They say like he can see and control the TSOs up to 70 meters, and then once they exceed the range of 70 meters, they're like he can't control them anymore.
The problem is, how would Vader even know that? I guess like. There's the mental defenses thing we brought up earlier. It's like, I think Obito has mind hacks in Star Wars is broken, but it's like Vader is like sometimes compared to Jorah Sabath, who can like control millions of people. It's like in the text itself, it compares him in a vague way. It doesn't like it just says like Vader is as formidable as him, but it doesn't like explicitly say, yeah, no, like we're talking about. It means like as a threat, but it doesn't inherently mean, oh yeah, like he's special, because like Jorah's whole specialization is mind control. Vader's good with mind control, very, but he's not like his specialization. Like even in the old Jedi Council, like Jarl Poof, bringing him up again, his specialization was illusions. So it's like Joris was a clone of a Jedi. So it's like I don't know. I don't think there's enough evidence to establish that Vader himself has like the same level of mind hack potency as like someone like Jorah Sabath. I think like. If we go off of like what he has for his own mental defenses, he can hypothetically fight off mental attacks from most of Obito's stuff. In fact, let me double check his own really quick, because I want to make. I think we agreed for the blog that like
I think we argued that like Infinite Tsukiyomi, like Obito's version, is kind of pointless because it takes 15 minutes for it to trigger, and it has to be done from the tree. Like
Well,
if,
he does have two Izanagis. Hugh.
yeah, Izanagi makes this difficult because it's like Izanagi gives him like
All
five
right,
more
that's
minutes.
probably something worth bringing up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Vader needs to like Vader needs to he needs to kill Obito like 3 times in order to win.
Yep.
Yeah, so like Vader has shrugged off mental attacks that force victims into suicide. Other Sith lords have brushed off like layered mental domination, and Thought Shield is like a basic skill taught to all Jedi younglings as it's like a passive skill that they keep up. It's like meant to fight off like mental attacks. I think you could probably argue that it's at least like especially since some of the example with Sith lords are like layered mind hacks. Like Obito's like base Sharingan can control like the Nine Tails, and like possibly it's not specified if it's the base, but it probably was, can like control Yagura, who's like a perfect Jinchuriki, therefore would have like extra mental defense up to like we know from Killer Bee that like they can neg like basic Mangekyo like
I
genjutsu.
know there is some debate like it's like pretty weird kind of mind resistance because like the Jinchuriki host is still effective. But it's just like the Jinchuriki inside can like break them out. It's kind of like it's not traditional like mind hack resistance, but also like Sasuke broke out of Itachi's Tsukuyomi.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably the best argument for like mental barriers because like no shot that like.
Right, Vader has one more thing. He the RPG guidance mentions he's immune to madness inducement, and he actually in Legends he enjoys going into hyperspace and viewing like hyperspace itself. It's warned that if you look at like if you're looking outside your ship as you're traveling through it, it tends to cause madness. And Vader literally stated in the text to enjoy it.
Oh shit,
Like,
he's a hyper.
Vader versus Chrono. Vader versus Chrono.
So there is that. One cool interaction I was thinking is that like Vader could potentially harm Jubito, and this would be something.
Oh, could he?
Really
That's good. Otherwise, he loses.
No, let me finish. So there's this thing people like to argue for Vader that's not really what people like to argue. They like to call it Dark Dimension Vader as like this weird super form he has in canon. It's not a super form. It's let me get a picture of it.
I don't think you should have called it Dark Dimension.
I just imagine fucking.
I didn't call it that. It's just people like to call it Dark Dimension.
They like to call him DDD.
I just thought of ProZD's one of his skits and just Dark Dimension just said in that exact way, and Vader saying it like that
so
is
this
seriously
is,
impossible.
and I quote,
What
Dark Dimension Vader. It's not Dark Dimension. It's
That's
not
like-
an actual like.
That looks like
form.
Vader halfway between Carnage and Cum.
I
What?
hate you so much. I hate you.
That is a description.
So what this is, it's Vader's presence in the Force. When he's meditating in the Force itself, he manifests looking
with all
like
the
this. The
butterflies?
red is meant to. Huh?
What's with all the butterflies?
It's meant to be like bits of the light side, kind of like Luke himself looks like freaking Dr. Manhattan, like within like the Force. He looks like literally just a ripoff of Dr. Manhattan, but with like Luke hair, like just a blue figure representing like the light.
So you're saying
he also has
the
like.
guy is a ripoff of Dr. Manhattan?
I mean, do you want to see a picture of it? Hold on.
Yeah, actually, I do.
I feel like this is gonna be the
I
new.
kind of hope
feel
he's
like
got
this is gonna
like
be the
the.
new. I just want to say, I feel like this is gonna be the new longest prediction video.
I doubt it. I mean,
Okay,
I
but
wouldn't
anyway,
be
No,
surprised.
it probably will be because in comparison we haven't even gone over all of Obito's abilities yet, and then there's still Vader's to go over.
I literally just typed Dark Dimension Vader and it brings up all the pictures of these things. And even on Reddit, like people were asking, how do you scale Dark Dimension Vader? It's like, this is not a form. It's his presence in the Force. It's more like a mental thing, or it's like soul in a way, a representation of his soul. So like,
got it.
So like, if
ends up happening in the
Obito took his
comics-
soul out, would he be that, or would he just look like Anakin?
no, if he took out his soul, he'd probably be dead, or it would,
Shut the fuck
or
up.
maybe you could get a.
you would get like a Force spirit moment. He wouldn't look
I
like
want
this.
that to be the kill. If Obito wins, he rips out the soul and Anakin reunites with
He
Padme.
rips out the soul.
Just do it like-
He
I
rips
want
out the
this-
soul, and it's Anakin, and Anakin's like, "Oh, holy shit! Thank you so much. I'm no longer a dick."
I want his presence in the Force to be in the fight though. So like, what you're seeing right here, this like carnage and then like blue limbs, not what you said earlier.
Carnage come. Carnage come.
It
Carnage
does
come.
Carnage
it does physically manifest a grand total of once under specific conditions.
Whoa.
So Vader ends up forcing an old Sith, employs him to over 7 years or something like that, several years, to like build him a doorway through time, so that he can stop the death of
What?
Padme. And this guy succeeds and tries to screw over Vader. Like his soul was trapped in a mask, right? The engineer, right? So he uses the time portal to bring back his old body and then bonds with it. Vader kills him, and like is severely injured, and he goes through the time portal. And when he enters the time portal connects to like the Force itself in a way, and his spirit leaves his body and it takes on the form of that, his presence in the Force. But it first looks like a kid, and as he's moving down, walking through it, he ages. Like it shifts from him being like youngling, then like Anakin, then eventually Vader, and then eventually this. And it shows him in like during the events of Episode 3. And it's described that what's going on is not just mental; it's a physical thing, like a what if kind of. And in this state, his presence in the Force, he's capable of producing these like sabers, and he's also capable of using Force lightning, which he can inconsistently use throughout Legends. It's weird. And like Force Unleashed, he's apparently able to use Kinetite. And then there's like the example he's able to use Kinetite in a novel, but he was amped. He's normally not able to because the Book of the Sith says you need like a full functioning body. Use Force lightning. I mean, obviously he's like a cyborg, but anyway, in this state, he like fodderizes the entire Jedi Council, then encounters Obi-Wan and Palpatine, and then like the overhead text says, "Who is your father?" And Palpatine ends up killing Obi-Wan and reaches out his hand to Vader, or to Vader. Vader slaughters him with Force lightning, like red Force lightning, and then eventually meets Padme and takes on his like normal self as Anakin, and tries to talk to her with going with him. She ends up jumping off the like the balcony. He grabs her and she makes a sinister face and kills herself. And then like he sees a presence in the Force that's blue.
Why are you laughing?
This sounds so stupid. That's all.
I promise you, in context, the run is really good.
It is. The 2017 run is really good. But he sees like a giant flash in the background as he screams, as it like sends him back to normal present time. And in a recent comic, we're shown what it was. It was Luke in the presence of the Force, and Luke Luke ends up seeing like a presence that's like red, and then it's like Vader, and he ends up screaming. So it's like they end up seeing their inevitable clash in Episode 6. The whole point was it's kind of like a time window that was both physical, and a lot of it is also kind of like symbolic. So it's like you would if Vader had his soul ripped out, it would not normally manifest as this, because it was only able to do that because of the time window. The way I would do it is like Vader like Obito has like a moment in the manga, right, where at the end of the fight with with like Naruto and everything, he gets cut in half by like Susanoo, right? It cuts straight through him. When it cuts him in half, all the chakra of the tail beast pour out. Naruto and Co grabs it, and it connects Naruto mentally with Obito, allowing them to converse in his mind space. The way I would do it in animation is I would have Vader like his ass handed to him by Jubito, then like use Force Rage for a brief counterattack and slice through Jubito, and I would have Jubito's like chakra bleed out and like enrapture them both, which connects like Vader briefly to Obito's mental space, and I would have like Vader show up like that, like his like soul self right there, and I would have the fight conclude like that.
How many times does this
whoever
motherfucker get cut in half? Or like
Obito?
split in?
I mean, Obito gets wounded a lot. Like I said, he's like a cock.
He's like a cock.
Before he becomes Jubito. No, listen. Before he becomes Jubito, he coordinates Kakashi to destroy his own heart. Right, loses his entire heart, can still move, then gets like controlled by Madara against his will, with a bunch of chakra rods ripping out of his body that were already installed there from years ago.
then forced into, at least what Madara thinks, is using the revival jutsu. And then he gets slashed across his entire chest to the below, like a fatal blow by Minato, who thought he was like some random bad guy, like Madara maybe. Didn't know it was like Obito until right after he slashed him. And then, turns out he was resisting Madara that whole time and had used because that's why he had his heart destroyed, to remove Madara's seal on. And that's when he fuses with the Jubi. And then he gets a bunch of other stuff done to him after the Jubi is ripped out. Like Obito is like
now that you mentioned like splitting in half and how he's still alive, regen.
Yeah,
that's kind of the,
he scales he has like really broken regen. Like
He has
Madara
his best regeneration feat is when he got half his body destroyed by a true seeking ball.
While he was out of control, yeah, it ends up just.
So you can argue that's like atomic level regen, at least for like not his whole body, but like, yeah.
Well, it can't be atomic level like regen because I think that's just the damage. Like, because you can argue Jubito is immune to the truth-seeking orbs.
Not as in this uncontrolled state. Otherwise, it wouldn't have blown off half of his body. He's immune when he's in control. This was when he was.
He's immune afterwards, like when he becomes stable.
Yeah, we're bringing up while he was mindless. The regen feat was when he was mindless.
Oh, okay, yeah, that makes sense then. Yeah.
So what? Half his soul
Honestly,
by 2?
I could maybe see them giving him the win just for off of that, like his ridiculously broken regen.
Cyber.
I don't think that would be enough to like give him the window because like if you think about it, that's only like half the body being destroyed, and Vader could probably just like blow his entire body up if he wanted to, and that's not really something.
The
HP gap is like both upscale from like
look in the Vader. Look in the Vader thread.
I can't fucking
apparently
see it.
he could
What happened?
He can destroy memories.
What's so true?
Come on,
What?
This. We'll talk about this later. We'll talk about this later. This doesn't. I'm just gonna go off the old blog because I feel like the old blog is still really good. The old blog had a lot of passion into it. I love it. It had some stuff in it that was wrong, like some Plagueis stuff in there that shouldn't have been in there. But it's overall really solid.
Don't worry, Cyber. In about 3 weeks, you'll think it was correct again.
Joke's on you. I've thought those stuff has been wrong for a few months.
Okay. So we talked about. I think there was all the major abilities.
Well, not all of them, but the major ones. Like the big ones were Genjutsu, Kamui, Regen, and TSO.
Can I explain the Renegon abilities real quick? Because we did not go over that, actually.
Don't you want to go over like the controversy of whether or not Jubito can use Kamui?
Oh, okay. Actually, that is actually pretty controversial.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can do that.
So like, can he use Kamui? Yes, but actually no.
So
that's a misquote.
Then Obito mentions in the manga, and I had my translator double check for this. He can't phase, as in like put his body in the Kamui dimension to avoid attacks while he's Obito, and this could be attributed to maybe either like lack of full control over the Jubi since Madara has better, or the more likely alternative that his body, as per his
Kishimoto didn't know how to make him unbeatable, so he just nerfed him for no reason.
You mean how?
I was talking about the body being immune to ninjutsu.
I mean, am I wrong?
Did anyone try
no,
just a gun?
No, not really. That's the out of universe reason. So not really.
Jubito to full access with Kamui would have just beaten everyone.
Yeah, pretty much.
I know we can have our own reasons, but the real reason is just literally if he could phase through dimensions, literally nobody would beat him.
Yeah, it's just a plain Kishimoto didn't know how to have the heroes win complaint.
Yeah, like them,
couldn't think to just
this is like
make up a new ability that just beats it. It's lazy.
This is his soul walking out of his body like a time door, and like
why is he just like there like a sack of shit? That looks so funny.
Because he got like his ass handed to him by Mormon.
Yeah, I can tell. He looks like he just got punched by Saitama and decided, "Oh, that was a bad one. I'm just gonna stay down."
Yeah, like he walked to the door.
He's doing the Boros pose. He's actually doing the Boros pose.
Yeah, like the moment he reached the door, his soul just like leaves his body. I really want.
He looks like he just fucking drank the British face.
Stop.
No,
I did.
He didn't drink
I actually did, by the way. I did
He drank the British shake, and his soul came out for revenge.
If by soul you mean my puke, yes.
Nice.
Oh wow, thanks. Appreciate it.
Wow, that's rude.
I actually did. I'm not even joking. I did.
I'm sorry. It's just after those TikTok vids and like, oh.
He
I don't know
grimaced
why
too
it's
hard.
dread.
He grimaced too hard.
Yeah.
I hope if Vader loses that he just has that pose when he's dead. Just
He grimaced too hard.
Wait, wouldn't the Yamcha pose be funnier?
not now.
No.
They
Okay,
do need a death bell that ends with the Yamcha pose, even if it's not a Yamcha episode. We need that eventually. We need that for Goku.
I
versus Super
want
Goku.
Yamcha versus Magikarp.
Magikarp sweeps.
True.
Okay,
What's
but,
Yamcha gonna
right,
do in Magikarp's revenge?
Right. So it's controversial with. I mean, he's explicitly stated he can't phase, but it doesn't inherently mean he can't teleport. We know that Madara was able to do so after ripping out Kakashi's eye, which is still so weird that like, oh, I rip it out, I plug it in, I instantly have access to all its abilities. GG. It's like Madara's like ocular regeneration is insane. Like connecting the optic nerves. That's ridiculously broken.
I mean, literally every Uchiha does that. Let me put that one fucking image, like how each Uchiha eyeballs literally just a flashlight.
I mean, Sasuke
Or
took
like-
several like what weeks for his transplant. And like,
I know. I kind of just like picturing, just takes his own eyeball out and just jams it into Kakashi's face. And
I hate this so much because like Sasuke has Itachi's eyes and he permanently lost one of them to freaking like Boruto controlled by Momoshiki.
Oh my god, really?
Man, the Uchihas would be in so much shit if someone just poked their eyes out.
I mean, that's what Momoshiki did. Took
Yeah.
a kunai and like
I was
poked it
I meant
into
with,
the
like,
eye.
the fingers, like V-shaped fingers, just poke the eye.
That's what Hinata did to Toneri after he got beat up. She literally like ripped his. Well, they're not his eyes. He stole it in traditional Naruto fashion. He stole Hanabi's eyes, Hinata's sister, and like just transplanted them. And then Hinata just like graphically like
God,
rips
what's
them
what's
out
up
of
with
his
the
eye sockets.
kink in this series. Jesus Christ.
Shut the fuck up.
And the movie mainly happened. Well,
Yeah.
part of the reason it happened was that like people were complaining. Wait a minute. The Sharingan gets all of this, and it's also revealed that the Rinnegan is an extension of it. The Byakugan didn't get jack crap. Oh wait,
Nobody
it
cares
has
about
this
the
superpower-
Byakugan anymore, even though it's literally the coolest one.
Ooh.
That's debatable.
I think it's the coolest
I
one.
disagree.
I
Like
think
the
it's
Sharingan, like the Sharingan, its like initial introduction and like what it did initially, like before all the magic BS, like was pretty cool.
yeah.
Byakugan's
Byakugan's better.
cool
Byakugan's better.
afterwards.
Byakugan's
That's not to
better.
say it wasn't cool afterwards, but it was pretty.
It really
solid.
should have just been like
It was
Byakugan,
introduced.
then the Sharingan, and like MS. No EMS. I would have just kept it in MS. And then the Rinnegan should have been its own thing.
Just wait till Boruto introduces a new form of it. Just in like
No,
7 of them.
Boruto has introduced new forms of
Oh,
it,
brilliant.
like 5 of them.
Oh, I love this. Oh, that's 2 off what I said. Brilliant. That's great.
Momoshiki has a bunch of variations.
Oh, Boruto's so good.
Ishiki has his own variations that like allow him to like shrink himself and like objects down to like but he basically is like Superman Ant-Man in a way. With like curse marks. And Boruto has his own version called the Jogan, which is an extension of like the Byakugan, but not really. There's a bunch of other Oculo crap as well in the series. I hate it.
The series really loves eyeballs. That's all there is to it.
And then there's that one powerful Genjutsu one from like part 1's filler. It's also an ocular technique that's not related to the others, but it's still an ocular technique.
So we are now
yeah.
through the relevant stuff with Obito.
Kinda, yeah.
We're done with Dream. We can go on to Vader.
Okay, yeah. Sure. So, Vader, I mentioned the Dark Dimension thing, right? Which is not really Dark Dimension, it's just a...
Dormammu scaling!
Well, we didn't
Right.
mention the Rinnegan. We didn't mention the Rinnegan.
Fine.
Renegon gives
you
him gravity
consider- if you consider that
gives him
relevant-
gravity manipulation.
Was the
That's
Ren-
honestly and soul ripping. There you go. That's
It also
literally
gives
what.
summons... Wait. It also gives summons and...
And I get
Vader-
negged. They
and
all
then-
get negged.
No,
wait,
it
wait,
lets
wait, let me finish. Vader has beast control, but that ability gets negged because of the piercings in the summons, like, would override like Vader's attempt to mind
Okay,
control
what
them.
if he just kills them with just like brute force?
Sure, that's
Then
what
you can
literally
probably-
Rita
he
said.
could
I just
probably
wanted to
do
bring
that.
up the whole
Vader would
point.
do
That's what I was thinking. Like when she said Vader next, I just imagined it was because he just fucking obliterates them with the force.
He literally slices through them, like the scene in Vader versus Doom, where he slices
All
the
right,
dinosaur.
so, all right.
Just spins
You're already
around in a
aware of the
circle.
basic force push, force, like all the basic TK
It's got
stuff.
telekinesis. Story
Vader
over.
in canon, has several examples or at least statements that he likes to target the eyes of people. And there's like a statement here. He can use the force to crush his victims' windpipes, break their bones, and pull their eyes from their heads. And in one of the Legends novels, it's mentioned that he can use the force to stop someone's heart at a distance without having to touch them. He has some examples of just using it to burst people inside. There's force crush. Obviously, there's like the force repulse. All the generic stuff also accessible to like Starkiller that you can like play in the force. At least is pretty much available to Vader, except for like, force lightning.
Yeah.
There's like force senses that affect, sense disturbances in the force, or if people are telling the truth. It's inconsistent on how good it is. There's a precog, and I'm still laughing at what we chose as like the image for the precog in the old blog. It was like Anakin and Obi-Wan spinning their lightsabers for like 10 seconds in their fight. I'm like, why did they do that? But apparently in the novelization, that's just like the reason they do that is they're like precogging their crap, and they're just moving in coordinates for their precog. Precog for Jedi is kind of inconsistent. I mean, if it was perfect, like the slaughter, I guess the slaughter of like Order 66 is used as a huge anti-feat, but what needs to be put in perspective is that like the reason it pulled off was one, the level of trust in the clones, and two, Sidious had been working his butt off to make sure that like the dark side of the Force clouded the light side. There's even rituals that he would do in some comics and legends where he would like do a really profound ritual that had a lot of setup time to like connect to the mind of everyone in the galaxy. It's not something he could normally do, and after conducting the ritual, he would have to kill a monster that was born from it. So there was like,
Wow, that sounds like such a hassle.
yeah, but it was like a lot of prep to make sure that Order 66 would pay off. And then in canon and Legends, you have so many Jedi surviving that I question its effectiveness.
Well, okay.
I think
I know,
there
even
was,
though
like,
Order 66, even though Order 66 doesn't work as an anti-feat, like Jedi precognition is really good, but like also it's not infallible. Like what immediately comes to mind would be like Snoke sensing that Kylo would kill his true enemy, and he didn't even realize that the true enemy was himself.
Well, that's not
he
Jedi
fucking died.
precognition.
That was
I thought
not.
it was.
No, he was
I
using
thought it
force
was.
senses. No, it wasn't precog.
He's
It
not
was
a
force
Jedi.
It's been a
senses.
fucking while.
He's not.
He
a
was
Jedi.
sensing his intent. He was sensing his intent, and Kylo like disguised. It's more like blamed in the novel where like Kylo disguised his intent.
Okay, that makes more sense. It's just the movie I thought was like precog.
Oh, it's still like no. You're right that the precog isn't perfect. The best example I think of the precog Vader has is him having to like spam double vision for like what I mentioned earlier, the whole hyperspace thing where like the ship was damaged. But he ended up like exhausting himself, if I recall. Because he had to do that for a while in order to get themselves out of hyperspace. There's also like basic force speed. To the Menace, I guess, is a good one. This could maybe allow him to like fight off some of. Well, a lot of Obito's jutsu is not necessarily energy. I don't think Totometis would work on TSO at all. Maybe get some like basic fire style jutsu.
It's kind of funny with how huge they are, but like I guess you could argue they work on tail beast bombs.
Maybe. He has telepathy, mind control. We already discussed the mind control. I think Obito would resist, and vice versa. Force barriers are really useful if you think that like the natural like the 1-to-1 with the natural energy can apply. Force barriers can also like protect against re-entry heat, comparable to like the outer layers of stars, and also for like in canon he used it to survive on Mustafar. Like he was like on a platform and like it was destroyed and he started falling into the lava and he's like not again, and he's like in like an omnidirectional force barrier, and then he like jumps out of the lava while the force barrier is
Just imagine
on.
Vader with a little bubble.
Yeah, it's literally shown as a bubble.
That's actually kind of adorable.
Yeah, not actually, I think I might have a scan for it. Hold on. Yeah, I got it.
I hope he actually says no, not again.
Yeah, this is him in the lava.
Good
This is him in the lava, and you'll notice he has like the force barrier, like a bubble,
That's so.
and then he Supermans his way out. Literally, look at this. He like, while submerged, like almost like flies out basically.
I mean, he should be able to. He does have the force.
I know, but it's like it's funny. I think, especially like
It's
with
kind
the
of cute. It's kind of
Wait,
cute,
is that,
actually.
wait, is that why they call Darth Vader is burning for death now?
That might just
Wait,
be.
you didn't get the
because
reference?
you fucking burned, you idiot.
He
Oh,
fucking.
I brought up like animal control
No,
earlier.
no, that
Kind of
never
useful.
happened in Episode 3. You're wrong.
I'm just imagining
I
Darth
brought-
Vader as like the Iron Giant with the whole Superman.
Well, I brought up like animal control. It's useless in this fight. There's Dunmok, which I also think is useless. Dunmok is like, you know, what he does to Luke to like get him to, like bringing up Leia. It's just like verbal combat. You
It's
like
just talking shit.
a
I think he
Sith
can.
will-
I think he's perfectly capable of talking shit without using a force power to do it.
I mean, it's classified as a skill for whatever reason.
Imagine he fights
There's, like-
Spider-Man and he's just like, "Ah, you are skilled with the force," as if that's like anything special to talk shit to someone.
Vader is classified as being able to use Force Sphere. Maybe might be able to use that on Obito, but
Force sphere's
and
nothing
feed
special.
off of Obito's negative emotions. I do recall there was like a whole debate.
Yeah, no, that was one of the things I pushed back in the old block where he could just feed off his negative emotion to get more powerful.
Yeah, that is something Sith can do. Force Scream is useless. It's just like a. I guess there is like Malgus using it to like when he's used it, it caused like severe permanent like hearing loss and it could melt metal. But I don't know. I don't think that would be that useful on Obito. Combustion is like a technique where you telekinetically cause an object to explode. It doesn't really use like organic like work on. It can even destroy parts of a body as shown by Darth Zana. Hold up, what is this? Is this
I
the
don't
tendrils?
know.
Oh, I forgot.
I'm so
about this.
confused.
No, I'll show you. Child Darth like Zana, like uses the Force and blows up a kid's hand.
Sweet.
This is in the Bane comics.
Oh,
So I have a request for a force ability that I want you to cover.
What?
The I think it's called post cognition. So literally the opposite of precognition, where
So
he's able
we didn't
to like
cover that
view
in the blog.
past, like
We didn't
events.
cover that in the blog because it's
That's
never
right.
usually really used for combat. Like, it's basically like if a Force user touches an object, they can read the past of the object, or like a location to some extent.
So what, like psychometry?
So, yeah, I don't recall Vader ever like touching someone and reading their entire history. That I cannot recall a single example of this
He
occurring.
did not pull a Namek Saga Goku.
And like
He did actually use it in a comic once, I think, to figure out like information on like Boba Fett, like a fight he had, or something.
Was it
But in terms of
mid-combat,
like,
or was it
in
out of
combat, I think you're right. He hasn't used it like efficiently during combat. But it's debatable because you could argue like he could just like scan Obito.
I don't think Obito
Yeah,
would give him the
information about it.
time to do this. If it's a technique that he typically doesn't use in combat, Obito's not going to give him jack time.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a Force Stun that could be really useful, but I think like Kamui would counter. Like if he uses the stunt to hold Obito in place, what's stopping Obito from just Kamuing himself out of that, and then the effect coming undone?
I think like holding Obito in place is fine, except for
Kamui doesn't
Kamui
need any.
potentially
The thing with
working.
Kamui is it needs no hand signs. That's why it's so broken.
It's like it's not. I don't even remember. Like I know some people argue it's passive. I don't even remember if it is, but like it wouldn't surprise me.
I think it's like semi-passive. Obito does still need to put some sort of thought into it. I think there's,
At
like,
the
a
very,
battle
he basically
between-
opens up with Kamui intangibility in every fight he's in.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's Force healing. Vader
Well,
can use it.
Obito would need to use the other application of Kamui, which isn't necessarily like passive the same way like the other application is, where he just like activates him for a fight.
it's force healing, but it's like Vader. It's very limited healing. I mean, obviously he can't use it to, like
Can't heal the
regen
metal,
most
can he?
time. Yeah.
He'd have to like
Force
do a
Rage is a
pesto.
big one.
This call is now 3 hours, by the way.
Force Rage is a big one, but it's like feeding off of your own rage to empower your physical abilities. Vader has a version of himself, uh, like that is called Focused Rage from Battlefront 2. A gameplay obviously would just be like elements of like restoring health. Reducing stamina exhaustion is probably like lore accurate though. Like Maul used Force Rage to survive bisection, and Vader used it to survive like impaling himself, or like getting impaled on a lightsaber.
Oh wow, Maul needed to use it to survive bisection. Anakin survived being burned in half without needing to use it. Loser.
Vader will sometimes use hibernation trance, which could put a person it slows a person's body functions. Fully trained user can stay in this state for like expended time periods ranging from a week to a month. Can use feed on dark side, also known as consume essence, which allows him to like feed. This is what Hyper was mentioning earlier, like feeding on the negative emotions of others. This will allow him to fight long pitched battles despite severe suit damage.
Yeah.
Speaking of suit damage, Vader can go has examples of being able to like fight with a severe suit damage or even like pieces missing for several hours, possibly even days, at least hours. So
Yeah,
it's
because like this is my basically like my main argument for Vader is that because like technically because like yes they both have upscaling but like Vader's feat is always no matter what going to be higher because of the 9 Yoda tens versus like I think like 1 or 2.
One.
Okay.
One.
You were very flip floppity you bleep.
It's 1. I literally recalculated for the sake of this fucking video. You idiot.
Okay, poopy head.
I
Anyways.
hate you. I hate you.
I hate you too. Anyways, it was 1 Yoda ton versus like 9, and I do find Vader's upscaling for it to be much higher than Obito's, and also he's gonna constantly feed off his negative emotions, and I do think at that point he can just one shot him, and he will, and because like he's also feeding off of him, it can also help him sustain in battle long enough to just get the one hit in he needs, and precognition is
The one hit.
really good for Vader, so I think it's possible for him to just.
Vader also has sleep inducement, but he's never really used it in combat.
Yeah,
he just forced the guy to sleep in canon. If I recall, there was like there was like a fire during the night. He just like says sleep, and the guy like
even work though.
No, because
I don't
even
think
like
it would work.
because there's like a sleeping jutsu Kabuto uses in this series, and Jonin are trained to like being able to
I don't
evade
think
it.
the fact that he doesn't use it in battle matters. I think the fact that even if he did, it would do nothing is probably the more important thing there.
There's also
Yep.
immovability, which Vader has actually used once, and Luke used it to a far greater extent during the Swarm War. Just applying TK to yourself to stand in like a specific spot so that nothing could pull you out, not even a section of space. And in Luke's case, and I quote, "Nothing could dislodge him. Not one of Lando's asteroid tuggers, not the Megador's 16 ion engines, not the black hole at the center of the galaxy itself."
The thing is that like Vader's force, like out of that probably wouldn't scale. Like that's after episode 6, isn't it?
Yeah, but I could see this being like a decent counter, maybe to like the Kamui suck.
That's what I was thinking, but also like kind of what I was thinking. Like this is something I don't see many people talk about, and I think it's kind of interesting. Comparing their gravity manipulation, like in terms of lifting strength, I guess, because like. What is like the best lifting strength feat Vader has with TK? Because like if we're scaling Obito to like Nagato's gravity manipulation, Chibaku Tensei weighs like trillions of tons. It's like literally trillions of tons.
I think it would
of
be
rock.
just like scaling to like moving Star Destroyers.
I don't.
Doesn't
just
Vader hold
like
back
that.
an entire
Like,
ocean at the end of Fallen Order? Like he stops.
I mean, a part of the ocean going into that hallway, sure, but it's like that would be
going in, and like it's not like the facility was destroyed.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be like comparable to like the higher ends of Chibaku Tensei probably.
Hey, speaking of Fallen,
Well, he wouldn't. Well,
I
I don't think he would scale to the higher ends of Chibaku Tensei, would he?
I mean, what would Chibaku Tensei get for like freaking pain. That's a good one.
I think I think most consistently it's like trillions to quadrillions of tons of rock.
We'd have to do a number comparison later. This would be good to bring up in the blog.
I don't think many people call it out, but like gravity manipulation doesn't necessarily have to require AP fully. It also requires lifting strength. And like if Obito's like lifting strength with his own gravity manipulation is better, than like he can hold Vader down for a Kamui BFR.
Possibly. I know that Vader has some experience with Sith sorcery, but he doesn't really use it a lot. He did use it to summon a freaking Force Demon.
That was weird.
Yeah, and Force Demons in lore, and I quote, the Force Demon has the power to enter a target via their mouth or nose and vaporize them. He's also used this to... Oh, right. He's also used Sith sorcery to bind the soul of the Grand Inquisitor to the realm of the living after he committed suicide, forcing him to serve for eternity. I read that comic that was so messed up, because, like, the Inquisitor is like, can I finally be laid to rest? I've been forced into servitude. Vader's like, nope, you're stuck for servitude for the rest of existence.
So that's useful. He can make Obito immortal. That'll help him.
While not used by Vader, he also may know how to reanimate the dead into zombies, conjure spears, and create force tendrils. I don't think he can actually do this.
I don't think any of those would help anyway, would they?
Force tendrils would. Force tendrils have like disintegration properties.
All right.
Vader can create illusion with the Force. One such instance, tricking Luke into into fighting a friend, but that's not going to work on Obito.
Yeah, we already mentioned that.
Force corruption is a thing from like okay, so like the dark side corrupts the surrounding area, sometimes creating a nexus of the dark side. This happened with Vader's charred armors years after his death and on his castle on Vajun. In canon, it's used in a process called bleeding to create Sith lightsaber crystals, where you corrupt like a green or whatever lightsaber crystal and bleed it red. Although it is taxing on the user.
I mean, how taxing is it?
Take a look at Vader's scream here.
Because like I was just thinking of like in Jedi Survivor, a guy does that and he's just fine afterwards.
I remember that. Yeah, that was kind of weird. But when Vader does, maybe it's because Vader had already gone through like a really really long day of fighting and like getting his butt kicked during this mission, and it's and while he was bleeding it shows him a possible what if he turned on the Emperor and repented and went to go to Obi-Wan and Vader said no, and then bled it and like caused that kind of effect. There's also like he can alter like the environment in the aspect of like let's say in a sandy environment he'd be able to like use the winds against his opponents. Kind of useless here. There's some miscellaneous abilities from the Book of the Sith that he is aware of because Vader was allowed like viewing of like esoteric knowledge that was written by Palpatine during his training. There is a lot here, so I'm going to try and go through the more useful ones. Let's see. Let's see. Blind. A surge of force energy that momentarily blinds a target by affecting their optic nerves. Actually been meaning to ask this. Is there any example of Uchiha's, like, dealing with blindness? The only thing I can think of is, like the blinding light Genjutsu used at the 5 Kage Summit that Sasuke, like, no-diffed. But he was also affected by, like, Kabuto's, like, flashing light thing. It's like, if Obito's optic nerves were attacked, can he, like, deal with that? Is anyone here?
I don't think.
I'm here.
I don't think you would necessarily be able to, but it's probably
maybe
like
if you scale him to moderate, like just somehow reconnecting optic nerves out of nowhere. Let's see. Hatred. By stoking your inner fire with negative emotions such as disgust, fear, and outrage, the user will radiate hatred as mental waves that can send opponents into catatonia. Ooh, I love the sound of that. Let's see. Force insanity, blah blah blah, drives target mad. Deadly sight, a rare Sith tactic that projects fury and hatreds towards the target in an intense glare. The glare will then blister skin, and prolonged exposure will cause higher levels of physical damage, akin to like 3rd-degree burns. A Mori Crow, a technique that slows down body functions. This can cause model that's used on. This can cause model catatonia to stopping one's heart. It can be fatal. Doppelganger. It creates a short-lived phantom.
A short-lived what?
Of the user.
Yo, you get to fight Vader. Have fun.
Soul destruction. Darkside users can use their energy to destroy spirits with enough exposure, such as Exarchon destroying Frida Nad's spirit, and supported by other materials such as Force Unleashed's What If expansion. I don't know why that was put in there. We should not be using the What If expansion of the Force Unleashed. That's super non-canon even to Legends. The spirit must be outside of the body for this to work. Vader's ability to perform this is questionable, as he cannot project Force Lightning or energy-based attacks. Which is inconsistent. It's like, he does use it in Force Unleashed, especially in the Wii version. Let's see. I think that's about it for normal abilities, and then I brought up the Sith Spirit earlier. One thing that was brought up for like the Sith Spirit version of him is that it might be able to, since he could use Force Lightning, is that it might be able to use the powers that are locked to having a body. But like again, this version of him can't really come out. The big one is the Death Field, which is like one of the most OP abilities in Star Wars. It creates like a massive AoE field that drains the life force out of like anything in there and ages the body in a few seconds, like thousands of years what it's touching. It drains all of it. It does affect the user to an extent, like tiring them out, but the user can then further drain like energy from the dead bodies using that technique to restore themselves. And the Death Field would later go on to be the building block for the Thought Bomb that Bane used, tricked like Sith on Rusan, I think it was Rusan, using, and it just like killed everyone on in that area and then like locked their souls into the Valley of the Jedi. So it's like, it is an OP power, but Vader's never used it, and if he could even use it, it would be locked to this like super conditional state that normally can't come out. Finally, he has a Force Ghost, and I mean that's kind of useless.
Look, if the Force Ghost comes out, he's already dead.
Yeah, the Force Ghost doesn't typically fight. The only example is like the non-canon What If from. I mean, in Legends, in canon, Anakin's soul does appear in and what it does is it helps Luke deal with like Exegol in like a novel, but like just being on Exegol like drains Anakin's soul. It's probably due to like the dark side nature of the world. Yeah, Anakin was able to return Luke's own spirit to his own body, doing so after his essence had been sent to Exegol. This effort caused them to fade and flicker, though this may have been due to Exegol's dark side pool. This skill is exclusive to a redeemed Anakin. I don't really think it would be appropriate to have Obito kill Vader and then him immediately go to, oh, I'm a redeemed Force Ghost. We're gonna continue fighting. That's not how that works.
Wait, Cyber, I have a question. You're talking about Force Spirits, right?
Force Ghost, yeah. Anakin's redeemed self.
I think there's a statement for the Force Spirits that they can't be destroyed like by regular means. Would you say that's like a sufficient?
I keep seeing the crop screenshot of that, and nobody ever shows me where.
You actually don't know where it's like where it originates from.
Yeah, nobody knows where it originates from.
Damn.
Would that even matter? I don't think
you had an idea of like.
I was posted so many times in the G1. Not even in current G1. It's like
in the official server too. In the official server, it gets thrown around like literally any other second.
Yeah, also, Vader's kind of dead. So like.
Oh, if we're talking about Force Ghost, though, can we talk about Obito somehow coming back from the afterlife as a spirit, entering? I know that I brought that up before, but the ramifications is like, if you really want to go that way with the Force Ghost, Obito can literally do the same thing, and he can use Kamui as a ghost.
Yep.
Spiritual Kamui, by the way, it's how he enters Kakashi's like mindscape. Doesn't make any sense, but at that point, I think Kishimoto was kind of like,
it makes sense because of
Naruto. We should wrap this up.
No, I want to keep this dragon on. We're almost gonna be Batman Iron Man.
I mean, not really, because.
No, we are. I've been keeping track of time.
I mean, Obito has a bunch of like
That'll be
But
funny.
smile
We've been
techniques-
recording for 3 hours, literally just as I started looking at the recording time.
Yeah, if we're gonna reach a conclusion now, I guess the big one is, can Vader outlast Izanagi? Can he counter Kamui? Can he counter TSO? Those are the three things Vader needs to beat. Okay,
TSO,
Um,
yes, you can because of force barriers.
that's if you buy the equalization. I feel like if you don't, the best other option is to move them off to the side, but they can expand. Although the 70-meter thing is working as an advantage to some extent, but he probably wouldn't even know about that weakness of the TSO, at least not initially.
The Kamui
Um,
BFR. I know some people argue that like Vader can anchor himself, but it's like
Immovability. Yeah, I know you brought up the gravity thing.
I feel like that's an I
too.
need to make that comparison, but like I feel like Obito can pin him down and then eventually just suck him in with his own gravity manipulation.
I think the problem is that like Obito turns physical. Like if Vader picks up on that, he could aim for something like an eye crush, which we know in canon he's not like shy of doing. Like
Yeah, and, like-
like one of the
Well, would he know immediately that he needs to crush the eye?
I mean, not
he would
immediately, but like the second Obito uses one of his abilities from his
But,
eyes,
like,
he'll know.
Visually, with Kamui for the suck, you can see that the suck originates from his eye, and it doesn't help that, like both.
Nemesis, why were you laughing?
The suck originates from his eye.
I need to work on my wording. I need to move clothes to the dryer soon. So, okay, Kamui he could possibly beat. He can't really beat the phasing unless you think he has like cross-dimensional properties for like Force Crush, which I don't know. I think that really like him using the Force across hyperspace is probably because the Force is omnipresent. It's a debate whether or not it would apply to the Kamui dimension. I don't think it really matters because he would eventually tag him down the line in the fight, and I mean he outstats is the problem for like base Obito.
He outstats
Izanagi is a great blessing for Obito because it makes him completely immortal and he can use other stuff. Here's one problem with it. If he uses Izanagi off the Redding Gun, we don't know if you can with the Redding Gun, but let's say he does. The Redding Gun is attributed to some extent as to what allows him to become Jubito, right? So, if he sacrifices the Redding Gun gives a connection with the Geto Mazo, right? So, if he sacrifices if he has to use Izanagi before hitting like the fused Jubito state, and he ends up deciding to use the Redding Gun, that could butcher the whole process to become Jubito. And again,
by versus rules, he would start off in Jubito, wouldn't he?
I mean, maybe. I'm just saying that like if he chose to use Izanagi in base, then he risks like butchering the whole form. If he uses the Kamui Eye, well, he loses one of his best abilities. I think that explains why he probably didn't use the ability as Jubito. Maybe it was because ninjutsu can't is beyond the body. If that's true, then that possibly means Izanagi wouldn't work well as Jubito. The other explanation, besides plot-induced stupidity, is, well, risking using the Redding Gun, if it can be used as one of the eyes that could be sacrificed for Izanagi, risks jeopardizing the whole form. So, I guess you could argue, why didn't he just use the Kamui Eye? Plot-induced stupidity, or maybe just because his body is immune to ninjutsu, he can't use, like, Izanagi on himself. That would actually be interesting if the reason he can't phase is also the reason he can't use Izanagi on himself. If he can't use Izanagi as Jubito, then his best bet is using it in his base state. Maybe like 5 minutes of just pure immortality, spam Kamui, and try and get lucky and BFR him. That is like a decent way for him to win.
But again, he's slower and also precog.
Is
I
he
know.
that much slower? If we go with Jubito, then like I don't think he's that much slower.
Well, I was saying though, is that like Jubito is weird because it's like if you go with the notion that the reason
that he can supposedly like use the suck.
I'm
or the
talking
teleportation-
stats though. Like Hypercity Slayer is like,
Oh,
is he
okay.
really that much
It wouldn't
slower?
be that much lower unless you argue like
For speed,
hyperspace. Scaling.
for speed, I would not say he's that much slower, but I would.
They are
but-
literally like not even like a 2 times difference if we
I
accept
think
it.
if
I mean,
in
I
base
think
though
you
it was
could
in base
argue
it would be a
that
problem though because like Vader is like scaling to like blitzing 28C.
Yeah, but
Pretty
that's
much.
base Obito. Jubito blitzes characters.
Yeah, no, I was
kinda like-
talking about base.
Yeah,
Oh,
no
okay.
base. Yeah, no base. He absolutely blitzes, but like, Jubito, they would definitely be like, it would definitely be a slight in his favor, but also precog also.
I think
helps a lot
Obito has
in
better
that.
travel speed for sure, but which can be useful to get away. But like,
But I did
up
not.
top-
But sorry, but I want to continue. But Jubito absolutely. I don't think the AP gap would definitely be wide enough for Vader to have a huge advantage in that regard, at least.
You're stupid.
Okay, but like,
Okay.
let me explain. Like he upscales from 9 unitons from fodder. It's basically fodder. There's no way around it, and it's from episode 4 Vader as well. While
You're stupid.
presents a logical argument, gets told stupid, Giga Chad. But also for Obito, because like the one Naruto one is like during like it's not by fodder.
I'm gonna have to say this now to give you the scans tomorrow night, or maybe Tuesday.
Okay.
No, Monday.
Yeah, because and for Obito, it's
That's
not
fine.
done by fodder. And while he would decently upscale-ish, it would not be to the same extent. And that feat is also just higher than his, so I would not be surprised. I would not say it would be much of a stretch to think he would potentially AP stop, especially with him using like absorbing negative emotions. Or, like
I would like to think, like, has anyone ever fought on par with like second form Jubi? Someone like, well, like character scale, but like I don't know how to phrase this, but like,
Didn't Gyuki go in its mouth?
Yuki survives the Biju bomb from it. Actually, yeah. Base Obito harms Yuki. I'm just saying.
Cyber, could I propose an argument real quick?
You're just hoping.
Could I propose an argument real quick? So
Go ahead.
If you're saying that the argument for the droid is that Luke blitzed the person performing the feat, couldn't you just argue that the feat like should be given the perception speed instead of the ratio? And if you do that, then Vader would be like way faster than Obito. Like it would be way,
No, I don't think it's.
Like
I don't think
like
it's not even.
two
It's
times
not
that.
even that he's blitzing. It's just that he's seeing them just in slow motion.
yeah, but would that not mean that you should?
No, it's pretty
apply,
much
like,
that
the
he's like
perception speed?
he's like a statue to him.
Because we're doing the ratio for perception to like reaction speed, but would that really make sense with like
I think that was already
How
done in
else
regards
makes
to the
sense?
28C. No, the 28C was after conversions. Noda had it higher. That's what we brought it down after conversions.
right? No, that's what I'm saying. Like would like the fee would be higher if you don't do the conversion to begin with.
I'd rather have just both converted. That makes things way easier.
Yeah, but I'm just saying like if it would.
I
kinda
don't
make
think
sense if you argue
like
it
if
as
he
that.
completely blitzed her, like her percentage is sure, but like that, I don't think that's what's happening. It's just that he's seeing her in slow motion, which like
I mean,
guess
that's
is
kind of a
ridiculous.
big
I
gap.
mean,
That's like the common like.
Well, it is a big
medium
gap.
way
Yeah,
to
for base
portray
Obito, but base Obito blitzed people as fast as the Gar thing. So
I mean, I
Don't
guess.
need to dip to. We covered Cowboy kind of. What was the other ones? It was Izanagi, right? Izanagi is what was even the counter originally we had for Izanagi in the blog? I think Izanagi's just a big problem because it's like 5 minutes. Obito can spam anything.
and you
Vader
said
has-
like the issue is that like if he sacrificed the Rinnegan, then he risks losing control of the form.
Yeah, but he could like just sacrifice the cowboy eye.
Yeah.
I mean, I get like, okay, I guess it's like this. If you think that the reason he can't use Izanagi is that Jubito's like body prevents it, and it's kind of useless in that form because he wouldn't be able to use it. And
Oh wait,
if
no,
you-
I'm looking at the old blog. I'm seeing the counter to Izanagi from the old blog. Basically, basically the argument was that he can use double vision, which allows him to see glimpses into the future, showing him that I think this is outdated. Izanagi can't regenerate his prior wounds, requires hand signs to be used.
Yeah, Izanagi cannot regenerate like wounds that you develop for casting it,
Okay.
if I recall. Uh,
He still lost. Yeah, that shows like Conan. Like in the Conan fight, he still lost the arm. He was still missing the arm, I think.
I think it was also shown with Danzo.
Yeah.
Yeah, Danzo. I mean, Izanagi also doesn't restore lost chakra.
He's. I
Also-
think. I think. I don't know who. I don't know who I think wins. I just hope Obito does because I've been saying he does for like 3
Like,
years.
As it
you
could not-
you
yeah, it
like
could not
you
restore
said Vader
honor.
is your second favorite combatant, and you prefer him to Obito. That makes no sense.
I want him to win in a DB. I want Obito to win the DB just because I pushed for him winning for so long. I'll see what starts to understand.
I think
Oh,
it would be cool if
it's just
Naruto
that she's really
streak
stubborn.
rolling.
That
I guess
too.
if you accept limited Tsukiyomi scaling from the film, Obito would probably just crap stomp. If you accept the higher end, like making the star. But if you do that, I guess that would open up the doors for like arguing more controversial Star Wars stuff that I really
And Phantom, like the other thing is like Naruto has that like really rough in like modern DB if you think about it. Like season 6 had like Sasuke's loss, and then season 7 had like 2 L's back to back. Like they couldn't even capture a win
Actually,
in
no,
a single season.
no. You guys
With
don't realize.
twice the
You
chance.
don't realize. Basically, both Star Wars and Naruto have never won twice in a row, and this is gonna be the first time that happens with either of them.
Oh
Oh,
yeah, I saw that. I saw they mentioned that. Yeah, that technically
Yeah.
it would be the first time for either of the
Yeah,
franchises.
now I really want Obito to win because that'd be really funny.
But I don't want Doom to get 2 W's and Vader to get 2 L's.
Alright,
Yeah,
so
but it'd be funny.
Does Vader really need a W if you think
alright,
about
wrapping
it?
up on my end, I will be leaving the call now. Countering TSO is either the barrier, if you apply like equalization,
Barrier, epithet erased.
or stopping it when multitasking with the Force, which risks Obito just expanding it, and then if it collides with Vader,
It's
it's a problem.
It's also arguably resistant if you buy the souls being like resistant to being killed, but that's more of a like, dude, like trust me moment. So
I mean, the problem is the other aspects of it. Maybe Vader has like some resistance to like atomic or whatever. I'd have to look.
Yeah.
But it's like TSOs. Even if you don't buy the soul destruction, they have so many other like properties to them. Like,
Spatial destruction.
oh yeah, they do. Like it's technically space time erasure if you think about it, like based off.
Oh yeah, there is the Sakura thing. People were arguing.
Wait, what's
I
that?
hate that. Reddit moment.
Why is Sakura relevant for this fight? That's not good.
Because she survived the TSO impalement from a staff from like Madara and somehow regenerated the wound.
I feel like
she has a resistance. Argue she has a
No,
resistance.
I would not argue.
due to
resistance.
chakra.
I would just argue is that it's
Chakra
just
is a powerful chakra user.
I would just argue one of two things. One, it's an anti-feat for the TSO, but they have like it's outweighed by its actual feats. Or two, I would use the Tsunade argument, where it's stated in part 1 that Orochimaru had reached out to her in hopes that she would heal his arms, which would have to include the missing pieces of his soul. The soul piece is cut off by
Oh yeah, that's true.
Low godly,
Yeah.
low godly
and
region.
Tsunade and Sakura is on Tsunade's level of healing at that point.
That's
Low
true,
go-
because
low godly,
I think
low
that
godly-
moment
low
was
godly-
from,
no,
like-
no, wait, low godly region, low godly region.
Oh god.
I would not want to argue it, but it's the argument exists.
I
Low godly-
hate the
low godly
versus. I
region.
hate the versus battle wiki regen terms because they're always so vague and people get confused when you try to like use them as a hard rule. Like,
I
there
guess
is not a
just
regen
call it
of
what it is.
regen.
Regen from the soul, I guess, or regen.
Right, that's what they should do. Like just say like regen from decapitation or whatever.
Low
All right,
godly
y'all.
region is funnier to
It
say
has
though.
been a good call. I am dipping. You can continue without me. Nemesis.
I think
will have-
I think I'm tapped out, bro. It's like 10:50.
Oh,
send
10
me
more
your
minutes.
recording
How
when
long
you
has
have
this
it
all been
done,
going
and
on
I'll
for
try
us?
and get scans for you.
I
I'm
My
not-
final verdict on my end is simple. I think Vader is stronger to like a good decent extent, even over Jubito, unless you use like the outlierish movie scaling, which just opens the door for outlierish Star Wars scaling. I think they're comparable in speed. Obito can possibly win with a BFR or a TSO. I think the Force and Sage like Senjutsu are close enough that like a barrier could help deal with the TSO. In which I think Vader probably wins with high diff, but I would not be surprised if Obito wins. I just think if Obito wins, it's also high diff.
I
That's
think
my
Obito
final
wins
verdict.
because I want him to win. There you
You
go.
all have an
I think my stance is pretty simple. I think if you like go really high end on Star Wars stats, then it's like no diff for Vader. But if you do become like more conservative, I think you might be able to argue that like Obito has enough versatility and like just like outlast material to like outlast Vader. But at the same time, Vader does have like arguably an easier way via just like literally one-shotting him. So you could really argue either way. I don't have like a strong stance on it. I mean, if I
Just
was
say
forced to
Obito
pick-
wins because you like him more. Jeez.
if I was forced to pick, I'd probably pick Vader, but I want Obito to win. And like Phantom said, Obito's cooler. So you know,
I never said that. What the fuck?
it's
I
okay.
never
You didn't
said
It's
that.
okay. It's okay. You didn't have to say it. It's okay. You didn't have to say it.
Oh yeah, large planet Naruto is fake.
Actually, if you argue the planet's bigger than ours, then the Shinobi are large planet
It's
level.
literally stated that the distance between the planet and like the sun in the novels is explicitly 1-to-1 with IRL. There are
Still Jupiter sized. Cope, Seath, Maul, even.
Guys,
Indeed.
Jupiter isn't even that
Phantom
big.
is
It's,
very
like,
correct.
it's just the same size as Earth.
There's also the whole gravity thing with the thing, but I don't think that's a good argument. I think like the fact that it's explicitly stated that it would take 8 minutes, it stated verbatim, by the way, for light to go from Earth to the sun, kind of implies that it's meant to be like literal like Earth to sun distance as it is in real life. That's explicitly stated in a canon novel.
Still bigger than Earth. You're coping. You're seething.
Mm-hmm. Anyways, Obito wins because he's in Fortnite. And
Yeah.
Oh, he's
Vader.
not.
Wait, no,
So
wait, no,
it's
He
he's
isn't
not.
actually.
What?
I thought he was, but he isn't
No,
actually.
he's not.
No, he is.
No, he isn't.
He is. No, he
He,
isn't.
Hyper, he isn't. Trust me.
He is.
He
I'm
is.
saying the truth.
Oh, the Fortnite god is Vader with the dance moves.
That's
Anyways,
a
go back.
mod. That's a mod. Fake.
Wait, really?
Hyper, I think you've entered a different
you
No,
side.
say
I
wait,
really,
really?
no, I've
Did you
really
say
seen
wait,
Vader in
really?
Fortnite, like, actually.
Did you say wait? Did you say wait? Really? Did you fall for my schemes? My tomfoolery?
I hope you
I
kill
think
yourself. Anyways, goodbye, everyone. Obito wins because fuck you. You don't deserve. Star Wars fans deserve
Oh.
nothing.
The true
You're a Star
winner
Wars fan.
is the
Yeah, I
cabbage
deserve nothing
guy.
good.
My cabbages from Avatar.
Don't worry, you'll deserve a galaxy chucking joke in Vader's analysis.
Also,
Yeah, I'm
also-
probably gonna get that.
also-
I'm probably gonna get that in a Palpatine analysis. Honestly.
Wait, so
Also,
are I
I'm-
actually wrapping this up?
I'm still planning on somehow sabotaging Colex. Just
I-
to
I-
know.
I-
I need to. Man, it's been fucking 3 hours.
Right,
No, it's
adios.
been 3 hours and 30 minutes, and we have surpassed Batman Iron Man. I hope. Please.
No,
please don't.
no. The call is not the recording.
Oh.
We certainly haven't surpassed Madara Aizen when you consider the second part.
Wait, how long is this?
The recording's been going on for about 3 hours and 17 minutes. Madara Aizen with both parts combined is about 3.5 hours.
Oh,
So
Wow.
close.
Wait,
So
why?
close.
Wait, why is there even a second part? What the fuck?
because
Why is
Cyber
there-
for Gore.
Blame Cyber!
Oh my god! You have to blame Cyber for everything now.
Yeah. I wonder if I could somehow BS away for Colex to be that long.
No.
Nemesis, if we get Bill Cord later in the season,
You're not doing a prediction
I
of
w-
that.
What do you
You're
mean?
not doing that.
What do you mean
I-
if?
I
Right, explain
will
to me why
hard
you said
advocate
if.
for Bill. No, because wait. Oh, wait, no. Ignore that. I didn't say it. I said it'll happen.
The
That was
recording finish.
a big brain moment
No.
right there.
Yeah, we're done.
All right,
Okay.
bye.
Nemesis,
Alright.
please give me a Gojo Makima prediction if it's ever announced as an episode. Otherwise, adios.
You will
Fuck,
make
who-
that
who-
10
who-
hours
who-
and I will
who-
not
who
be
the
there.
fuck else am I gonna go to?
It'll be an hour and a half probably. Gojo Makima isn't just. It's semi complicated, but it's not freaking like they don't have like Vader level material.
I read the blog and I didn't comprehend a single thing written.
Because you're not a
It's 'cause
fan of
you're an
either.
idiot.
That too.
I agree.
All right, bye.
Anyways,
everyone.
Anyways,
go
Bye.
play Raincoat.
Alright.
Colex sucks.
I am playing Great Code. Also, Gojo Makima will never happen.
Well, it's not this season. I feel like it won't be this season.
I mean, it could happen this season.
It
I
will
don't see
never
it.
Not
happen.
Gojo versus Sukuna is happening right now. It'd be kind of weird to do it while that's concurring.
I mean, to be fair, they did use Deku in an episode, even though Deku still had stuff going on.
I literally haven't even
Alright.
stopped the recording yet. Okay, bye
Stop the
everyone.
recording. We're done.
We literally have a
Stop it.
50-50 split on who people think's gonna win, except me, because I haven't said my piece. And I think that